Hello, welcome to Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series for split yellow and green here tonight on Wednesday for Suzuka, round 3 of the championship, and the skies are looking ominous on this figure 8 track here in the lovely Japan. I am joined tonight by Brent Sykes and Jean-Pierre Sinikas for the commentary, as well as Glenn Germain behind the cameras, as all the participants are going out on track to scramble out to do a hot lap as we're going into qualifying for this 75-minute race. How are we tonight, lads?
Yeah, very excited for some excellent racing at an excellent track, and by all indications it seems like we're in for some interesting weather scenarios as well, so going to be very, very interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, looking very much forward to it. Suzuka's a great track, and yeah, having some variable weather. I know that the guys have been practicing in the servers for the possible wet conditions, and yeah, should make for some interesting racing.
As we can see there on the weather widget, we have rain in 30, so it's going to be a dry qualifying session, but it could mean that we have either a wet track at the start of the race or potentially some rain at the start of the race, which will certainly be very interesting. The track started on green, it's fast already now, so this is going to be one of those sessions where getting that final lap in will be vitally important to a good qualifying position.
Absolutely. And the race is taking place just 2 hours after this session in-game time. So definitely rain will be still lingering around the circuit. Also a fast track as well, so not a lot of rubber going down despite it being the third day of the weekend in game time as well. But yes, a lot of very short qualifying because we've got a fairly long race, 75 minutes with no mandatory stop. A very interesting one on strategy, I will say, but we'll get to that once this session ticks over. But who do we think's in the hot spot? Who's favourites? I know we got Wells. We had Wells on screen just then, who has been going very. I'm not going to use the same word as his surname adequately at Barcelona, despite I think a small moment, not of his own fault. Rondinello, we know he's very quick, one of our commentators for tomorrow night, I believe in Split Blue, and we know what Buskovas, as well as many of the other quick drivers in the split, said aforementioned. Quick is their Tom McDonald, our championship leader.
Yeah, I would say it's between McDonald and Christopher Taylor. You have two guys who are certainly in with a shout for pole and potentially the race win. Matthew Spinazzi, he's also in the Ford, and he's also been very quick so far this season. And yeah, it's going to be, if I had to put my money on it right now, just based on sort of performance so far, I'm going to say Chris Taylor for pole, followed by Spinazzi, followed by McDonald. That'll be my top 3 prediction.
It's a pretty safe bet, that one, and don't blame you at all, because they have been a little bit the class of the field so far in this series, but we still got very quick drivers like Harsh Kumar and Stan Buskovas, as I mentioned. Just to cover the championship for Split Yellow, Tom McDonald is heading it up by only 2 points over Chris Taylor, so a very tight battle for between those two on the championship. Stan Buskovas for silver class is on 181 points, just 11 over Harsh Kumar. Richard Wells heads up Pro-Am, 18 over Atkinson, and Jai Fisher heads up Am on 42 points, 10 over David Marsh. So yeah, still early days in the series for the season for the championship, but it's very easy to lose points than gain them, to say the least, to state the obvious.
Especially in a race like today, where it's variable conditions. It's a track that's very unforgiving. Coming up to 130R, as we see here, a corner that has claimed many a victim, and I'm sure will claim a couple today as well. So 75 minutes without a mandatory pit stop. So as you said earlier, we'll cover strategy once we get to race time, but it's gonna be interesting to see what people decide, and I guess the weather will have a big impact on that. But as you mentioned in the championship, Christopher Taylor had a poor first round, only scoring 98 points, but last week he scored 155 points, almost the maximum that you can score, and that brought him right back into the championship battle with McDonald as well. So those kind of things can change very quickly, and it's quite interesting to see in the split. There's only 4 pro drivers in Split Yellow, and the top 3 are all pro drivers, and Robert Maddox, who's the other pro driver, has pulled out of the season basically. So all 3 pro drivers are the leaders in the split, which is pretty cool to see. As we see a couple of the first laps coming in, 2-minute .990 there for Spinazzi. Is only 10.5 clear of McDonald and Taylor there in P3. Jerry in P4 in another Mustang. I think these times will come down a little bit, and we should probably see some 59s towards the end of qualifying as the track evolves a little bit. But the weather is getting wetter in 30 minutes. It makes me think that we may well see some rain come race time.
Absolutely the case. I think Spinazzi was a little bit caught out there with the blue flag, trying his best to get out of the way. Just compromising the line a little bit into corner. T-Mac here on a good lap, and will slot into a bit of a late timing line here. The Suzuka championship, Suzuka track, and does go up into first with a 2-minute dead .8. It is a fast track. I think we were expecting, some of the people to be in the 59s if it was an optimum. It's not exactly cold out there. It is mid-25s ambient, I believe, with about 31 on the track. So not ideal conditions, to say the least, for qualifying.
No, on an optimum track, it's still, it's 58s are certainly a possibility for some of these drivers that we have in the split. But yeah, given the conditions on a fast track, anything into the 59s will be an absolute belter of a lap. And we see there, Spinazzi, he was up by miles and then absolutely buggered that final chicane, which is not difficult to do. It is a very tricky corner to get right. Tom McDonald, he is already 4 tenths up. Never mind, he messed up the exit of the Igna 2 and lost half of that, but he's still 2 tenths up. So everybody is improving. Where is Christopher Taylor? Is he improving? Has he maybe boxed for some fresh rubber? Yep, he's on an outlap. So this will be his first attempt to improve again and challenge McDonald for pole position.
I would say every car, especially those Mustangs, looks very loose around here, given it's not optimum. But I think regardless, they are quite loose to drive, but they are queer. What is that? I just saw we got away at the hairpin, a rejoin, and I think a impeding accident. That's for definitely sure. Sam Buscobas in the GTR goes up to P10, 7 tenths off the lead. I don't think he'll be too happy with that, given the gap to pole, but he's gonna stop it and get some fresh boots.
See McDonald come through the Casio triangle. He has nailed the exit. There's a very tiny amount as he comes through the final corner, I would say. Hugs that inside wall, makes the line as short as possible. It's going to be a 2-minute flat 0.4, and he goes half a second clear at the top of the field. Can Spinazzi, Squires, Loz, Taylor, who can answer in the front engine cars at the moment? We have that Ferrari on pole position.
It looks like all the cars are either just coming out of the pits or they're just returning for their final little stint. Expecting things to heat up in this last 6 minutes as the track sort of evolved. As we see Taylor here, 22 hundredths up, 2 tenths, coming into Spoon. See if he can hold it all the way through, gaining time through the entry.
Such a terrible corner.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to maintain your speed through there without getting understeer and then getting oversteer on the exit as the track trips away, but he's done well. He's still 2.5 tenths up coming into 130R. See how much of a lift he needs in the Mustang.
Not too bad, a little bit really.
Gaining time again in Casio. Yep. Through the final turn, we're a little bit loose on the exit. Going to improve.
Not for P2. There we go, P2. Just a tenth clear of Spinazzi. I think he still has quite a bit of time in that lap. But yeah, it just brings me to my weekly question. Thoughts on the track? Personally, Suzuka it's a great track when you get it right, but Spoon is probably one of my least favorite set of corners on any track anywhere. But otherwise, what are your thoughts on Suzuka as both a racetrack and just a hot lap track?
I haven't done a ton of racing here. Back in my rookie season, we had a round here, but I really do love the track. I think it's a great flow sort of track. The S's through Sector 1 are great, and trying to hold on as long as you can through 130R, scrubbing off as little speed as possible is always a great feeling. So. And I think, especially with a bit of variable weather, we could see some interesting things happening today.
Yeah, I've always very much enjoyed Suzuka as a track to watch and as a track to drive. But I think I've struggled recently in practice for this race. There's a lot of places to gain time here, and I think I'm struggling a little bit with the technique that. How to exploit the best out of this track with the lines and the curbs, especially in the S's. I think I've always had a weak spot with the S's, especially this first corner as well, to be honest. The whole Sector 1 in general I've found incredibly tricky, but to be fair, it is probably, I'd argue, the whole backbone of the circuit. It makes and breaks the whole lap.
Yeah, so, I mean, we sometimes talk about tracks that require rhythm, and I don't think there's any track that epitomizes that more than sector 1.5, basically. Sort of the first half of this lap is just all about getting in that groove, getting in that rhythm. And if you can't get that right, then you just lose time throughout the rest of the lap as well. So we see Christopher Taylor improves again. He's still 3 tenths off of Tom McDonald. Harsh Kumar has snuck into the top 4 now as Spinazzi improves. Only 1/100th behind McDonald. So he only needs to improve very, very slightly to get onto pole position. Can Christopher Taylor find some time, as there are still 3 minutes remaining in the session, so probably 2 laps at least for most drivers. Maybe one or two that might be able to grab an extra one. But yeah, we see Spanatze talking about rhythm. He's on a beautiful run through the S's here, and now he comes up to Dunlop. Such a tricky corner to get it right. He tracks it right all the way out to the outside. Didn't lose any time, gains a little bit on the exit and then into Degner's. Degner one fully about commitment. He really eats the inside curb, and then it's very quickly correct the car on that outside curb. Take as much curb on the exit of Degner 2 as possible, but stay within the limits. Very easy to invalidate there, and then coming up to the hairpin. Such a tricky one to get the braking right. Use that camber to get the car turned in. He's still gaining a little bit of time. He's 2.5 tenths up. That's going to be more than enough for pole, depending on what Tom McDonald can do. And we come up towards Spoon, which is an incredibly hard corner to get right. Brake just after or on that exit road. Nibble at the inside curb, nibble at the outside curb, then balance it on the throttle, get the nose turned in, and then try and get on the power without it kicking its ass out. Loses a bit of time on the exit there. Now you have a little bit of a breather coming down to 130R. Get yourself mentally prepared for that commitment. You don't want to brake, you want to lift ever so slightly and turn in, and then back full force on the throttle. He loses a bit of time through 130R there. Can he regain it coming into this very tricky chicane? If you think you've cut enough, you haven't. You need to cut more. He gets a good run on the exit, but he loses a little bit of it, a little bit of a squirm on the exit, and he loses all of that gain. And that is not going to be enough, but he will have enough time for one more lap.
Yeah, looked a bit arguably scruffy. Oh, Chris Taylor has taken pole, but has also, let's say, aborted his first lap, as he probably didn't get it quite right and knew it was all day and done. We see Spinazzi here. He's going to get another bite of the cherry. I think, yeah, it just did look just tricky to drive the Mustang. Just squirming here, there, and everywhere. But I think most cars are just like that around this whole track. And as you try to exploit as much, mid-corner speed through many of these corners, especially here at Spoon. Ferraris have looked good, but this is not a good lap so far for T-Mac. He should get around for one more lap with 40 seconds to go, whether he has the fuel. But he has looked good, has looked on pace, and definitely going out pretty well. Won't be going too wide there at the 130R in the race if it's anything to go by in practice with some cars, but we'll start another lap if he has the fuel.
To have to find a 10.5 to take that pole position back from Taylor. Spinaz is on his final lap now. Whether he's improving or not is up for debate. See Aiden Squires in chat. He is currently sitting in P4. A couple of drivers behind him still on laps. And we go on board here with Spinazzi. He's 3 tenths up coming through Spoon, and this is where we saw him last lap start losing a little bit of time. This time that is not the case. He just about keeps it valid. He has a 3/10 buffer at the moment. That'll be enough for pole position if he can get this final sector right. And as we saw on that previous lap, it's not so easy to get it right. Can he keep it valid? He keeps it within limits, but he loses time on exit. He's lost a bunch of time there, and it's just started raining for him. Can he still get a little bit of a good run out of the chicane? It seems as though he's done that. He's 2 tenths up. It's going to be very, very tight as he loses a little bit of time coming down the main straight. This is going to be incredibly tight. I'm going to say 5 1,000ths for pole position.
Wow.
That is behind Spinazzi.
Wow. I don't think the rain had much of a factor. If anything, it was probably just a distraction in that last very moments as Zeri, I believe his teammate, comes across the line. Big gains, goes up to P4 to top off the silvers in the Ford Mustang. But that said, we still got Stan Buscobas up with 3 tenths as well. So this is going to be a good lap. But he's going to be spending more time in this rain than I think, it might have a little bit of an effect. But we shall see. Comes around 130R, right on the curbs, losing time. And gets it stopped neatly for the Casio triangle. Cuts a bit of a shallow entry, might compromise his exit a little bit. Yeah, oh, it's all gone. Yep, and the time unfortunately has ended there. The shame for Buscovas as he was on a good lap, but a little bit unlucky there.
Yeah, that is very unlucky timing with that rain. But look how tight it is in qualifying. Christopher Taylor takes pole by 5 1,000ths of a second. This is wet. This is wet with more rain coming. I think everybody will be scrambling for some tire pressures, figuring out what to do, and hoping that it's going to continue rain for the whole race, so nobody has to do a pit stop. No worry, Malak.
But, yes. Going to be interesting. As I said, 75 minutes, no mandatory stop in this race, so you can take your tires all the way to the end if you've got, and basically go all the way to the end if you can obviously manage your fuel for the full 75. I think it's going to be a bit touch and go between certain cars, but the wet weather is going to play a factor into that. I think if it was a dry race, it's a little bit touch and go with tires and fuel in terms of management, but it'll be very interesting to see how this goes in the wet. Would you guys change your setups? Like if you had a full dry setup, would you consider maybe doing any changes to make it a little bit easier?
Given my severe lack of setup knowledge, no. I'd add a click of traction control and set the tires, and that's about it. If I'm aware that it's a fully wet race, then I'll certainly load a wet setup, and you gain a good bit of time doing that. But in a race like this where it's changeable conditions and it's saying heavy rain in 30, but that might well change and we might still end this rain on a dry track. So yeah, in this case, no. I think I'd keep that dry setup just in case things dry up towards the end. But yeah, how about you, Brent?
Yeah, I don't really have a difference between my wet and dry setups. So yeah, probably just up the TC, probably move the brake balance, and then just send it and hope for the best.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting as we just go through the grid one final time here. Christopher Taylor, Matthew Spinazzi, and Tom McDonald, your top three. I think that's what I called. Or didn't I? I think so. And then we have Jerry, Squires, Costa, Kumar, Buskovas, and Loz Piper as your and lead pro-am there with Nicholson, Bishop, Yao, Marsh, Wells, Atkinson, King, Rondinella. I don't think he'll be particularly happy with that qualifying performance, followed by Warner, Stockton, and then our first AM driver there in Lamimam. Kay, Kidman, Bubnow, another driver who won't be overly pleased with his qualifying performance. Byrne, Fisher, Marsh, Kanyas, Lim, Winton, Andrew, Silo, Spenceley, Lloyd, and Pablo Granich, or Paul Granich, in P34. Good to see we still have a split with 34 drivers. Drop off that we normally see throughout the season. Not really too bad this season so far. And did we have any quali bans in this split? Okay, so from the information we didn't have any, which is a good thing. So we've done quali. Ferox, Brent, what do we think? The track is only damp at the moment, so it's going to certainly get wet very soon, I would say. But who do we reckon will be the one who will handle these conditions the best and be able to take away the win here in split yellow?
I'm a bit confused because it said it was wet while we were on the grid in terms of track conditions, so I think it's not making its mind up right now, but I think it's definitely going to be wet by the first couple of laps. But it's hard to look past T-Mac with the Ferrari. Let's cover the cliches. It's got that very good TC system, and I think it's just going to be a much more manageable car. But that said, I haven't just not experienced with the Mustang, but I can't imagine it goes here. It's going to be any easier to drive in the wet than it is in the dry.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. The Ferrari is known for being quite good in wet conditions. The Mustang's not too bad, but a lot of sort of mid-speed corners might not suit it too well. So yeah, it'll be a little bit of a throttle control where the Fords are up front, and yeah, I think T-Mac's got a pretty good opportunity to take this one away.
It's
sure, I think
tricky.
T-Mac will be facing is Suzuka is not an easy track for overtaking, and the two cars ahead of him are both drivers who are not known for making mistakes, firstly, and secondly, they're both in a Mustang, which is one of the fastest car in a straight line. So he'll be facing an uphill battle getting past these guys for sure.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Don't really have much experience, I think, with these watching these drivers in these conditions, so it will be will be very interesting to say the least. Obviously, we've known Chris Taylor is been a Ferrari driver for a long time, pretty much since it came out. Only recently is switched to the Mustang and has had some very good success with it, I will say, as they go to double fire, and Buskovas needs to stop that weaving straight away. He's now it's double file, he could get in trouble, but I think he'll get away with it. So we come round now for the start and through the Casio triangles. Obviously, there is an element of danger on the first laps given the conditions. Hopefully, people will take it easy somewhat and into turn 1 and turn 2, but definitely not the widest of tracks here at Suzuka. But we shall see, as need to bunch up a lot closer than that so far. And the race director won't be too pleased. There's a bit too much gaps for my liking, but yeah, we'll leave that to the race director. As it is quite a late start here with the late timing line at Suzuka, as we wait for the green lights, 5 red lights, race start initialized. Will probably be quite an even jump between the 2 Mustangs, and T-Mac will just have to filter in somewhat, probably have to fend off the other Mustang of Zeri coming around the outside as well, and he's done a good job to keeping that. He gets a nose up the inside of Spinazzi. The door was left open, and he gets squarely on the exit, which allows T-Mac to get ahead. There's a very good turn 1 from the Ferrari driver, is exactly what he needed to do. But we're looking pretty clean up and down through the field, and Andrew Nicholson in the Audi, Rondinella side by side with the GTR Warner through the S's. Space given, it's a little bit edgy and sketchy, but they give each other racing room and survive for the next lap, as I believe the Ferrari Stockton puts his nose up the inside. Ooh, 2 wheels on the grass, and that's going to be very bad for Rondinella, as one of the McLarens takes him as well, as they're still 2 wide now into Degner 1. The Porsche very late and gives Bob now a fright. That's a Aston Martin, a Bishop, and I think another McLaren as well. People getting a little bit sketchy come this part of the race, and hopefully not too much other than that. But I think we've done pretty well. Hayden Marsh there in the Ferrari. Unfortunately, we did see go around at Degner 1, whether there was a collision there or just went up by himself. I think there was another car up there as well, but not too bad, guys. Not too bad.
Yeah, fairly clean start. Given the conditions, I would say that's a fairly clean start. Couple of opportunistic moves there, but yeah, no, it's looking good. Spinazzi left the door open, and when you have Tom McDonald, who's a very opportunistic driver behind you, you can't afford to leave even the smallest of gaps. And McDonald took full advantage of that, as we see Aiden Squires driving on a wet track. That explains the rain. There's going to be some snow if ACC can manage to process it, but he is right on the back of Sherry, looking very strong in these conditions. Yeah, so far seeing some discussions in a YouTube chat about the Mustang. I mean, there's 4 of them in the top 5, but they're 4 very quick drivers, so none of them are particularly running out of position. Squires side by side with Jerry coming into T1, striking that braking. There's a bit of a river that follows across the road there when it's wet. Fortunately, it's only damp at the moment, so your braking markers are fairly similar to what you would normally expect, and he gets the move done up into P4. I don't know why he doesn't want to race in these conditions. He's doing very well so far.
Yeah, doing very well. Mustang driver. I mean, we saw Costa and the McLaren lose 2 positions to Kumar and Buskovas in the background at turn 1, going a little bit wide. The let's say the AstroTurf is and the painted white lines are very slippery here, and it'll be interesting to see what pace what Aiden can do as well, coming up to the back of Spinazzi, see if he can make any encroachment on that first little group that is a little bit breaking away, but we shall see how that goes along. But I will say, it's damp conditions. A lot of people pushing out there. The optimum strategy says you can take this tires all the way to the end, in theory. But I wouldn't want to be pushing them super hard here in the early phases, especially in not exactly full wet conditions, not in their optimum conditions, to say the least.
Yeah, that's right. I think we all experienced some running of wet tyres and getting them quite warm in damp or breezy conditions, and how they don't do quite well when the rain actually starts. So, yeah, I think the drivers can conserve their tyres a little bit now as the rain starts getting heavier in the next couple of minutes. Will probably pay dividends towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I think most everybody would have put their pressures down a little bit, especially for these first couple of laps where the track is damp. So tires will be maybe a little bit over pressure, but as soon as that heavy rain starts, they should drop down a little bit. As we see Costa and Piper go side by side, Piper does get the move done around the outside and moves up into P8. Costa giving him a lot of room there, and good respect shown by both drivers. As we have a big yellow flag there, it looks like car triple five Arno Loz at the chicane. Not sure what happened there, but he is stationary for quite a long. Oh, that's at the exit of 130R. Has 130R claimed its first victim for the day?
Definitely gets no grip yet. Come the dry conditions, unfortunately, I think the Lamborghini of Spenceley and the Ferrari, I'm not too sure, is that Wells, as the BMW comes into the pits. But yeah, potentially our first casualty at 130R.
Assuming he does have quite a bit of damage that he wants to get rid of there. As most accidents at 130 are big accidents, so you don't necessarily get away without much damage if you do go off the end, especially in these conditions where the car won't really slow down. It will get to the wall.
Yeah, I don't think there was many drivers who didn't take wet tyres. As T-Max looking all over the back of Taylor so far, and Taylor I think he's gone deep at the hairpin, but I think both of them have subsequently gone deep as well. But yeah, sorry to you, Brent.
I was just going to say, yeah, it sometimes seems like there's a bit of a big magnet in the wall on the inside of 130R. If you get a little bit sideways, the car just sort of tends to hit that wall, and doing the speeds that you go through there, 200 plus kilometres an hour, can cause a fair bit of damage. So I'd say that's probably why he's sticked into the pits and get some repairs done and back out on track ASAP.
I think if you don't actually hit anything, the problem is you've destroyed the set of tyres that you are on, because they're going to be instantly flat spotted. Those the speeds that you do through the track. Oh, that's a lot of speed carried by the Ferrari in going wide subsequently into 130R and a little bit deep into the Casio triangle, as I think he knows he's got Taylor under pressure a little bit, but needs to keep himself in check and not become a casualty of his own making. But going so well so far, Spinazzi, with no real answer to these two so far.
I think to consider here is it's also a track that's fairly easy to get warnings. So especially doing what he just did at 130R, especially in these conditions, you can very quickly build up those warnings and get a drive-through if you're not careful. Degner 1 and 2, another two corners where it's pretty easy to sort of quickly get them. As we get a replay here of Arno Loz in chase cam. And as we come down towards 130R, just carries a bit too much speed, and the rear says, no, thank you, I'm not gripping. Oh, okay, and he gets collected there by the Audi of Nicholson. Unfortunate, so he avoided the wall. Whoa, okay, there comes John Stockton as well. Exit stage left.
The GTR of Warner, I believe, as well. Oh, caught a clip there as well. It's all still kicking off. I think I would have reversed and got off that track immediately being in that place. But yeah, that was a little bit rough. There's a lot going on there.
So Stockton, even with his pretty nice pirouette at the exit there of 130R, still up in P16, so it didn't really cost him too much. But as you said, the tires there will take a bit of a beating in those type of slides. Oof. McDonald is really pushing very hard, and not sure it's really worth pushing that hard at the moment, unless he wants to try and get ahead and try and build a gap. But there's over an hour of racing to go. And I suspect once the heavy rain starts, the Ferrari will start to really shine a little bit more than the Mustang will. Although I must say, Taylor and Spinazzi are showing some good pace in those Mustangs in these conditions at the moment. So I may be wrong about that.
Be very interesting to see the state of people's tires as Ron Danella is coming up to the back of Stockton. And I think while Stockton is still going, he's definitely Well, that's a bit of a big lift off from nearly going into the back. As Jai Fisher on the Aston Martin, I think Stockton is a, let's say, walking wounded cart. While he's still going on track, he's definitely losing a lot of pace down the straights. And the Aston Martin on Aston Martin action. I'm not too sure. I think that's Canius trying to get past Ronda Nillett. As there we go, Stockton comes into the bit, and Bub now has escaped all this as well. As yeah, not surprised with the Ferrari hitting the wall with that sort of ferocity. It is taking a fair old beating to its lap times.
Banana. Oh, that's too much speed. Oh, beautiful drift. As long as you scream esports while you're doing that, you don't do any damage to the tires. So very well held there. And he's now side by side by Fisher, gets bullied off track. And that's going to cost him a couple of positions. This is a very tricky spot to rejoin, and he does the very, very smart thing. Keeps it off the track until there's a clear bit of road, and he rejoins there behind, I want to say, Bishop. So cost him quite a few positions there, but hopefully can settle down and start gaining some ground again.
Yeah, he's done very well to hold that through turn one, not to crash into anyone and not to actually spin it around. I think you mentioned before there's a little bit of a river or a puddle going into turn one at the end of the straight here, and I'd say that's probably getting a little bit more full and a little bit more dangerous. So yeah, we might see some more incidents come in through turn one and through the first part of the S's.
Yeah, so far there hasn't been too many incidents, considering what we saw in the last couple of weeks. There's been a little bit of a sort of an adjustment period as new drivers have gotten to know each other and maybe not quite figured out the limits of what they can push with certain drivers. But I mean, we've seen a couple of incidents here, but I think most of them can be attributed just to sort of a bit of over pushing in tricky conditions. And I don't think the stewards will be feeling too drunk just quite yet, based on what we've seen in the past. So, whoa, another beautiful drift there from Warner, and he is under pressure from Byrne right behind him. I do love that Kawasaki Ninja livery on the GTR. Very striking livery.
Yeah, there's I think most setups require quite good front end, which you can lead to some let's say butt clenching moments in certain corners, especially in the one of the track conditions we have so far. I think maybe just a little bit too loose for Warner's liking, to say the least. But yes, unfortunately, got a car up by Dunlop curb. Oh, we got McLaren as well hopping over to the grass. Car 29, not too sure who that is. No, it's Stan Boscovas. And that's a bad place to be. He's got a long way to wait. He might be able to just get away with a gap here if he can get the full lock. I'll just bounce it off the rail.
Christopher Taylor has had an accident. Christopher Taylor
17
is facing the wrong way. And I see Tom McDonald is behind Spinazzi as well. So I'm wondering if something happened between our two leaders there. Hopefully there wasn't contact, but I'm sure Glenn will sort out the replay for us soon. But Spinazzi is now your race leader, and Christopher Taylor, championship leader, or championship second place at least, down into P7. No. Where is he? Come on, ACC, update, please. There we go, starts updating now. I think it is P7 based on what it said there. And there's another bunch of yellow flags at the hairpin again. That looked like about 3 or 4 cars involved in that as well. So we gave compliments and they returned by saying, no, we can still have some incidents. So you see Dennis Warner there. I'm wondering if he was in an incident because he's looking very, very lonely there. So as we see, Tom McDonald carries about 40 kilometers too much speed into
that will be a warning.
Yeah.
Because that's very easy to do.
Hayden Squires through all of this up into P3 and very much on the tail of the leaders. So this is not a commentator's curse. Commentator's curse is on specific people, not on a split in general. So what is happening here? Christopher Taylor, Tom McDonald just up into the rear, carries a lot more speed into the corner, and just turns Taylor around. A very unfortunate incident there. Very easy to do, not no malicious intent there whatsoever, but yeah, very easy to do, and I suspect there will be a bit of a penalty coming towards Tom McDonald there. But the race continues, and he will need to try and find a way past Spanatze and build a gap so that he can try and mitigate some of whatever penalty is coming his way. Christopher Taylor is, what's that, about 10 seconds or so off the lead now. And he has a couple of drivers in front of him that he will have a pace advantage over. But as we've seen, Suzuka is not the easiest track to overtake on. Replay here of what Dennis Warner into the hairpin again, and that is Bishop just up the inside. Or was that Byrne? Sorry, may have been Byrne, and he just tapped him around and then does the gentlemanly thing by waiting for him. But unfortunately, that is nice to do, but the stewards won't be too kind with the initial contact, regardless of how long you wait for them.
Yeah, not what we like to see. A bit too much, let's say, yeah, a little bit of a bit more caution here. I think, not too surprising. 15 minutes into the race, drivers think they kind of got a little bit of handle and looking to make moves, but unfortunately, just a misjudgment being showed by some out there. But the race goes on, and Chris Taylor definitely hasn't lost out too, could be a lot worse. Thankfully, it was at a slow enough corner where I think his tires wouldn't have been damaged too badly, but still not ideal. And we'll see how he can potentially recover this so far in this race.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be carrying much damage from that either. It was quite a light hit, but just the physics of the game and the conditions would have exaggerated how quickly he went around there. As we see our first penalty there for Atkinson in P10. He is P3 in the Pro-Am class, and Wesley Au, and I don't know what King's first name is, but R King in P9 there. This is the battle for the Pro-Am lead. Ryan King on the back here of Yao. He's putting all kinds of pressure on him. The Porsche is a very good car in the wet. The McLaren is a good car in the wet and a very good car around Suzuka. And we see another yellow flag there in the S's, car 72 and car 33. I think that's towards the back of the field. And he is through. Ryan King has overtaken him.
Yeah, just a little bit deep there into the hairpin from Yao and opened up the door, and King took the opportunity to get ahead. Let's see if he can't make a gap or if Yao can sort of stay on his tail and make that position back.
Yes, he's already lost about half a second or so behind King there, just coming down towards Spoon, but it's a couple of corners where the Porsche will be stronger. There's a couple of corners where the McLaren will be stronger. The McLaren is very, very good through the S's. And we see there Yao, I think he's just lacking a little bit of the confidence that King has in that car. As you can see, King is just slowly but surely building that gap as the lap progresses. And I think he is well on his way to running away from Yao here and securing a Pro-Am victory if he can continue the way he is. And yeah, we look back here at our leaders. McDonald still right behind Spanatze with Squires and Jerry, all within striking distance. Any small mistake will lead to a lot of positions lost here, should any of them make a mistake or perhaps make some contact, which hopefully will not be the case. And Benjamin Piper only 2.5 seconds behind Cherry, so by no means out of it. It's very much still there. Christopher Taylor is catching up with Kumar, but not at the rate I think he would have been hoping to. However, the gap is slowly but surely coming down. And yeah, going to be interesting to see if McDonald will keep the aggressive nature going in this race, trying to get ahead of Spanazzi. He knows he has to. But he also has that sort of potential penalty looming over his head, so he doesn't really want to get involved in anything else and have the stewards look at him with a bit more scrutiny. So it's a difficult balancing act for him now as this race progresses. And Spanatze knows that all he needs to do is just keep it clean, and he should be able to stay ahead.
Yeah, and not to dwell too much on it, but I think Mr. We do have penalty points in this series as well, and we don't really want to dwell on things too much, but that could affect the overall championship as he is the championship leader. Very wide as well on the exit 130R, a little bit loose. But yeah, it's not going to be good for the overall title bid, and it could prove decisive if we get any of these drivers get too many penalty points. As Aiden Squire is going well, just minding his own business in P3. And let's see what lap time he's done last lap. A 2:09.5, so pretty much, yeah, within a tenth of his previous lap as well, and only 6/10 of his best. So I think the slightly heavier rain has started to arrive just now. I was wondering when it was going to come around, and the track has gone to fully wet. It's been a little bit on the edge of whether it's wanted to be damp or wet, and I think it'll only should help some of these tires. Hopefully, stay on the cooler side if anyone has been having a little bit, too warm tires. As Bump now here, a little bit under pressure from Sicanius, but fends off to turn one and takes a good line into turn one with the McLaren, and looking to still keep Lemon under pressure up ahead.
Yeah, I just noticed there Benjamin Piper now within a second of Jerry, so he's piling on the pace, and just he completely destroyed that gap that was between him and Jerry. And yeah, he's made it a 5-car battle now for the win, basically here. All of the top 5 covered within about 3 seconds, 4 seconds of each other, which is very, very good to see. And it looks as though this Audi is sort of just coming to him in these conditions. And Piper has always been a very good operator, but the Audi has been a challenging choice, I would say, for the last couple of seasons. And he's making it really sing in these conditions. He hasn't really been challenging too much so far as the season has gone on, sitting in P6 in the championship. And as a silver class driver, it's a generous silver class, I would say. He's always been a pro in my mind, and he's really showing those pro skills here as he closes up on the top 4.
Yeah, just noticed there coming into 130R, he sort of dipped off the racing line. So I'm wondering if maybe up until now he's had some tyre pressure issues, and now the track's getting wetter and the rain's getting heavier. The car might be coming back to him and providing him a little bit more grip.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. If you compromise for certain conditions, then in other conditions it comes to you. As we start seeing a couple more penalties coming in now, Hayden Marsh with 15 seconds and Dennis Warner with 10 seconds. So yeah, a couple more should be coming soon, I guess. And we see Saxon Hayes in chat, our resident Audi enjoyer. He'll be very, very happy to see Benjamin Piper putting that Audi up into the top 5 there.
Yeah, him and Nichols qualified P10 and P11 in the Audis, and did a good job. I think Nicholson was a little bit unlucky catching damage. I think I'm not too sure. It was the BMW went off.
Yeah,
It was caught in someone else's accident, and definitely a sizable full frontal impact, and won't be helping the balance any somewhat. And we're curious to know what happened with Stambus. I get the feeling he probably had his own accident and just dipped a tire at this corner, which is so easy to do, to be fair, and just going a little bit wide. As the car just bottoms out, you become a little bit like a skateboard and just unfortunately get turned around. But looking to still recover well in the GTR, and GTR pretty good in these conditions, whether it's pretty good at this track overall, whether it's dry or wet, to be fair, and should be going well out there on the back of Rondanella.
Yeah, Dunlop is the type of corner where it's easy to have an accident by yourself in the dry. So add these tricky conditions, as he gets a great exit out of the hairpin, but Rondinella places the car just so that Stan can't really get a run as they come down towards Spoon. Will he be in a position to make a dive? There's not really a heavy enough braking zone for a send up the inside, but it is possible when Rondinella drives all the way to Tokyo and goes completely off track and loses 3 positions there through just an unforced error, really. He'll be kicking himself for that. But he'll want to settle down quickly as he's immediately under pressure from a Ferrari. Will he need to defend? Please do not go side by side through Ontario Underwet. Thank you very much as they settle down and follow each other line astern. And Rondinella will just need to sort of settle down a little bit. He'll have his teammates in his ears trying to get him just to calm down and dial it back a 10 for 2 a lap and settle down and start chasing these guys ahead of him again. Just a shout out as well to Lamiman in P13 as our lead AM driver, which is a pretty solid performance from him so far.
Absolutely going well out there, and definitely in a race like this, pace isn't everything. As Bub now, I think, has lost a position now to Sicanius, and I'm sure we'll be giving the other McLaren a little bit of something to think about. Is the Aston Martin driver?
See, in the battle for the Pro-Am, Ryan King has pulled almost a 2-second gap now on Yao, so clearly has that pace advantage. And then in the Pro class, we still have Spinazzi leading the race ahead of Tom McDonald. Christopher Taylor is ahead of Kumar, so I'm not sure when that happened, but the gap to Piper has grown quite a lot. So 7 seconds. I mean, there's a lot of time remaining in that race, so that could certainly come down. And it looks as though in these heavier wet... Whoa, McDonald off track again. That's not the first time. It's not the second time. That's probably the 4th or the 5th time already. Whether one of those or 2 of those are a warning is up for debate, I guess. But yeah, it looks as though Squires in these conditions is just starting to sort of struggle a little bit and fall off these lead 2. Hopefully that Audi can get out of the way nice and efficiently, as well as the Porsche. Please, no, what are we doing? Blue flag drivers, please get out of the way. That is not ideal. They had more than enough time to get out of the way there, and they're affecting the battle for the lead. Hopefully he can pull out of the way now. Nope, never mind. Okay. And yeah, we see Jerry is still all over Squires, and Piper has dropped off the back of Jerry now. Oh, somebody has come a cropper in the back. That was the Audi. I'm not sure who that Audi actually is. It's not Nicholson and it's not Piper. It's the third one. Lloyd, yes.
That'll be Lloyd. And I think Piper had to take quite evasive action there to not go into the side of his fellow Audi driver. And a little bit, it's a little bit, it's racing, but not ideal to see. And to be fair, it's also very hard to get out of the way in the S's once you've committed, which is why we try to want to get out of the way to a sound, but it doesn't always, go like clockwork, to say the least. But hopefully no harm, no foul.
Yeah, it hasn't really affected the top 4 too much at the moment. Those gaps are pretty much as they were. Although Squires did gain a little bit on McDonald there. I think Piper probably lost out the most there as he had to avoid a recovering Audi. But everybody else seems to be okay. I mean, we see Taylor there's gained about 2 seconds on Piper. So yeah, definitely a bit of an effect on him, but we continue racing. So far, the weather that was supposed to be variable, I think the variation is only in how wet this track is going to be for the rest of the session. I think everybody should be able to settle down now and just stay comfortable until the end of the race. Most cars should make it on fuel for a 75-minute wet race. I think maybe the Mustang might be a little bit of a struggle, but I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in chat can confirm. Or Brent, you drive a Mustang. How well will the Mustang do on fuel in the wet?
I haven't actually driven it in the wet here. I'm out for this round. But it's not too bad on fuel, given that the wet conditions, meaning that you're not using quite as much fuel as you do in the dry. I think a 75-minute stint is definitely doable, as long as someone's throwing the full 120 litres in. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. At worst case, I think we'll see splash and dashes. But here, I mean, it's a fairly long pit lane, so it's pretty disastrous if you you have to do a splash and dash, and the driver ahead or the driver behind doesn't.
It's more of a splash and a trundle than a splash and a dash. It takes quite a while. As we see Austin in chat saying Mustang should be fine in the wet. I would say so. I mean, it's on about 3.3 liters of fuel, I guess, in the dry. So, you cut off, you need about a 3.08, 3.07 usage per lap to, well, Spinazzi is behind McDonald now. So not sure when that happened. Looks as though it was fairly recent. Because the gap is not very big.
Yep. It was about 1 second ahead on the last lap, so something's definitely come a cropper to Matthew Spinazzi. And the Team Mac now regains the lead. Well, he doesn't regain it because he didn't have it in the first place. But well, he had briefly. But yes, gonna be interesting to see how this one develops. Maybe the Mustangs. It's interesting to see. Like, oh, that said though, it's gone very wide at the before Spoonker and rejoins the track. I think if Spinazzi was any further up than he was, I think that would be one to call into question. He might just get away with that rejoin, as he did. I don't think really Spinazzi. He maybe had to back off like a tiny bit, but I think that was just more for the corner than anything. But going very wide again at 130 yard. He's obviously not getting too many track cuts off that one because, as I said, I think done it a few times so far this race, and Spinazzi might be a little bit motivated here, but that Mustang looks really tricky to get out of Casio Triangle.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to have a good enough run to do anything as we see McDonald starts defending immediately. Makes his intentions very, very clear right from the get-go. And yeah, Spinazzi not really close enough to try and do anything as they come down into turn 1 and 2 and then into the SS. So be interesting if we... There we go. We should be able to see a replay now of the overtake as they come through Dunlop. Oh, Spinazzi just has a big old moment. Manages to save it, but goes a little bit wide, and McDonald slips up the inside. So good move there. A little bit of a mistake from Spinazzi, but very, very easy to do there, as we know.
Yeah, it looked like it just probably was a little bit wide into this Dunlop curb, and then was just carrying that error pretty much through the whole curb, trying to leave space as well, and just finding a little bit more of the wet parts of the track on the off line, to say the least. And very tricky. Not surprised he had a few wobbles as the Mustang went for a little bit of a slide, but definitely not letting Tom McDonald get away too much so far. But that fry does look very good in a wet.
Just noticed P15, 16, and 17, your top 3 AM drivers within a second of each other at the moment. That battle is very spicy there between Lammerman, Fisher, and Marsh as they battle it out for the AM class win. Trent, the fastest lap is pretty much irrelevant because the conditions have changed so much. It doesn't really make too much of a difference at the moment. But yeah, we saw a yellow flag there. I think it was Buskovas, if I'm not mistaken. It looked like car 29 was turned around again on the... Whoa! As McDonald has gone wide again, and he keeps it nose up on the inside. Spinazzi is through. And can he get a good enough exit out of the final corner? He certainly does. And, Tom drifts it around the outside there. That was pretty spectacular looking. Not necessarily the fastest line through there, but it does look good.
You just got a little bit off the drier line there, getting a little bit sideways on the exit. For a second, I thought they might be going too wide down the straight as they continue into Sector 1, nose to tail.
I think going too wide down the straight would have ended in Spinazzi ahead regardless, just in terms of a drag race. But we see with those sort of mistakes and the battling between these two guys, Squire's now within a second again, Sherry within half a second of him. And then Piper still dropping off a little bit, and Taylor not really able to be closing that gap on Piper so far. In fact, it's gone down by about 3/10 in the last 4 laps, so really not much. As we see, McDonald there does get his 15-second penalty that we have been waiting for, and the stewards have finally adjudicated it. to be a 15-second penalty. So, he has 41 minutes to try and get past Benazze and build a 15-second gap based on the sort of pace difference we've seen so far. That looks like quite the uphill battle for him to fight through the rest of this race.
I think, yeah, unfortunately, I think the number 11 has been a little bit of his own worst enemy so far in this race. So obviously the incident at the hairpin, but he looks like he's got a lot of pace, but it does seem maybe a little erratic as well. A few mistakes here and there. Obviously, at 130R, and it's he did have the lead, and to be honest, I could see him maybe if he had a clean run and maybe have taken the lead earlier on, he could have maybe have built up a. It would have been very, very difficult given the caliber of drivers in the circuit. But 15 seconds with the pace he's been showing and did in qualifying, not impossible. But yeah, very got to be tricky from here on out, to say the least.
As we see car 777 there getting a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. Not 100% sure who that is, not on the leaderboard at the moment. But yeah, I don't think McDonald, even if he does get clear and stop making these small mistakes which keep getting him back behind Spinazzi. Whoa, another beautiful drift on the exit there. I don't think he has the pace to build that gap at the moment, and Spinazzi is not going to make it easy for him, that's for sure. But these two guys behind him are having a nice little ding-dong battle as well. Jerry and Squires not being separated by more than about half a second for the last 10 minutes already. And Squires, I think, hopefully comes to the realization that rain racing is the best racing, and he will continue to take part in them. As Donald gets a good run through there into Degner 1. He's right up the chuff of Spinazzi as they go into Degner 2. And he's close, but he's not quite close enough to do anything at the moment.
Yeah, Mustang not looking too great up through Dunlop. Seems to be a bit of a, whether you have to keep the TC turned down for it to just kind of go, but then sometimes it's a little bit too loose and cutting in too much sometimes with the looser setting. So you go a higher setting and then it might cut in too much and you lose time in that regard. It's all a bit messy somewhat. And yeah, let's say the Ferrari definitely does a lot better with getting its traction down. The car 299, I think that is Lloyd again in the Audi, has come a cropper at Degner 2, but in a little bit of the pack there, but hopefully it's gone away with it with too much, not too much error, and not causing any other collisions with other drivers. The Mustang and drive for sure, as they say that, as nearly always sketchy to go too wide through that corner, to say the least. But thankfully kept it on the grey stuff.
A little bit of poo came out, I would say, for Jai Fisher there. That was, by all accounts, looked like he was heading for a wall there, and he managed to keep it on track. So very, very well done there by him. But yeah, this has been seeing Baskovas there as he comes past. A bit of a poor round for Baskovas by his standards, at least. He's always up there in the top sort of 6-7 drivers at least. And just not his best performance so far. But there's still 37 minutes remaining. He can still fight back, and the gaps ahead of him are not huge by any stretch. So if he can keep it nice and clean, he can still recover up into about the top 15 or so, I would say.
We are halfway through. Keep it up.
As we cross the halfway mark of this race, 37.5 minutes have gone by very quickly. And the race is still sitting on a scale. It could still go either way really at the top there. We've seen Spinazzi and McDonald both make mistakes, and the drivers behind them are very much within distance of capitalizing on those mistakes. And it looks Marsh is pitting, so he was in P17 in that, or P16 in that battle for the Amplost win. So okay, can't park there, sir. As we see car 27, I think that was, that is Aiden Marsh, facing the wrong direction. But yeah, that looks like a a strategic decision by Mars to split the race in half in terms of fuel, which is an interesting call.
Yep. Yeah, well, it may not be the most optimum strategy. I think some drivers may feel more comfortable whether they, come in, take tires, or run it on just fuel, half and half, rather than fully at the start. I'd be very interested. I'm curious about some of the tires and how hard some drivers are going in the not full wet conditions at the start to see if they are going to suffer towards the end. But the fuel starts to come down as well, so you get a little bit of balance back as you lose your mechanical grip, so it generally evens out. But I'll be curious to see how it goes, because we don't usually see this this particular scenario in terms of tires and race strategy, but in wet conditions, I will say.
Yeah, it's I mean the wet tires generally, they're pretty sort of tough. They can go quite a long while, and even though Suzuka is fairly heavy on the tires, it's in the wet conditions. Oh, Donald there with a big moment again, and losing a bunch of time to Spinazzi, and that's going to allow Squires to close the gap a little bit. Oh, and he goes very wide at Digno, as well as we see another yellow flag at Spoon. It's car 19 at Lim. He's not recovered yet. Starts to be moving now.
Yeah. Good news for these leaders, they've definitely got a lot of clear space so far. The majority of the grid has. Oh no, where's he going? That must be exit Digna 2, surely.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we're not surprised. I think,
No.
given his off-track excursions, but
there we go.
there's another one. But yes, that's another nail in the coffin, and is as Brent said earlier in this race, very long pit lane here. Definitely not one of the shorter ones.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to hurt, and he'll have to serve the drive-through, which will cost him positions. Then he has a 15-second penalty, which will cost him positions. So this is really a rough one for him.
Gonna be in a lot of traffic as well. Dare say he'll probably go till the last minute on his drive-through. Tries to build as much of a gap to the cars behind, given that he's probably got pace. But yes, damage limitation for our championship leader, which will definitely be well, Chris Taylor, as he goes for another slide as the lap car of Nicholson comes out of the pits. I think in between these two, will definitely be doing no favors to the championship leader here. But yeah, gonna be very tricky. But Chris Taylor, I think, can definitely afford to take things a little bit easier. Not necessarily has to rush through the field to try and recoup what's lost, because he's definitely going to be taking the championship lead so far.
Yeah, his problem is that Spinazzi is scoring a good amount of points over him. So if he doesn't gain too many more positions, obviously he'll gain the one from McDonald serving that penalty. But if everybody else can keep it clean for the rest of the race, I think it'll be very close between Spinazzi and Taylor for the championship lead, if things stays roughly as they are.
Spinazzi currently 46 points behind T-Mac in the championship, so definitely going to be gaining a good amount.
Oh, Nicholson doing a pretty poor job of getting out of the way there, costing McDonald a bunch of time. And we see car number 16 there has gone around Dunlop. Not sure exactly who that is. It's not in that. McDonald. Is McDonald aware of those white lines that sort of signifies roughly where the track is? That is Spensley in a very second-hand looking Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's had a fairly sizable collision on the front, but yes, a little bit make your own track somewhat. It's Aiden Squires, who was a little bit under threat from Zeri, is now kind of flipped that card and going to maybe give T-Mac something to think about. But I think Nicholson definitely not going too slowly, I will say. But yeah, definitely still in the way. He needs to definitely get out on the straight, otherwise he's going to get in trouble as Tom McDonald comes in to serve his drive-through, and we can see the long stretch all the way down to that other board, and it's going to feel like forever. And I dare say he might come out just in a gap in front of car 35, which I think maybe Kidman. Maybe even a little bit less. He might not lose out as much as we were anticipating. Might be still top 10.
Squires had an incident at turn 2, he's going slowly. That is not good. He's now behind Taylor and a bunch of other cars. I'm wondering if that was all by his lonesome or assisted. Because he was very close to Nicholson on track. Hopefully that was not the case. We see Lloyd has come across again at the exit of Spoon. He's having a bit of a day so far. And Squires has lost how many positions here? 3 positions? Yeah, he's now down into P6. Piper in the Audi up into P3. Saxon Hayes has just had a little accident in his pants, seeing Audi in the top 3. Yeah, Craig Dale with a good point that McDonald has enough time for a second one. As we see Squires coming into turn 1, just carrying too much speed, and then rejoining into Nicholson, the blue flag car. So that's a tricky one. That's not a great rejoin, but yeah, also I guess frustration of dealing with a blue flag as well, and then running deep. So tricky one. I'm glad I'm not a steward in that one. But Sherry up into P2, so he's not overtaken anybody today on track, but he's had a great result so far. As we see Buskovas, they're getting a 10-second penalty as well, so his day goes from bad to worse. So it cost him another couple of positions.
Buskovas is in this race, to be honest. He's definitely fallen back considerably for the silver class leader in the championship. Definitely going to be ruining this race as it goes bad to worse somewhat, as Piper is coming to the pits. I was going to praise Piper for his currently P3 in the race, but that is definitely not the case so far. I wonder if this is another case of someone wanting to, keep tabs on their race a little bit better, manage their race a little bit better by taking half fuel, or whether they choose to take tires as well, and maybe explains their pace a little bit relative to the leaders. Yeah, it looks like a planned pit stop. It doesn't look unforced. He is going again now, so I don't think it's been long enough for tires, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think if you change tires in these conditions, then you're just costing yourself time for no benefit, really. And I saw there was car 27 and 223, so that was Hayden Marshall. Somebody else had a bit of an incident at Spoon. Hayden Marshall having an eventful race as well. Oh, McDonald, very wide exit there. He's really making the most of his money that he paid for this DLC. Just using all of the available track and anything else that they animated, he's just exploring where it is. Really getting the most out of it. But he's still running in P8 at the moment, so even with the drive-through penalty, it's not really cost him too much in terms of positions. And 15-second penalty with an 11-second gap to Kidman, which was sure to grow. So potentially he would still be in the top 8 by the end of the race if he can continue carrying the pace that he has been.
Yeah, and big props to King and Yao so far, the Pro-Am drivers in P6 and P7 doing a very good job. Just minding their own business, really, and been reaping the rewards subsequently.
And also Jai Fisher now up into the AM class lead, so he was behind Lammerman quite a while ago, but he's a good distance ahead of him as things has progressed. But yeah, as you said, King, he's built that gap on Yao. I mean, last time we saw them battling, oh, that's not the line there, sir. He was about 2 seconds behind him, and now it's over 6 seconds. And yeah, King really doing a very good job. Hopefully those drivers don't still have to pit, which will take them out of their current positions. But yeah, very good performance from the Pro-Am drivers there.
Yeah, and it was interesting because that car we saw went off at Casio Triangle was the car 24, which is the Pro-Am leader of, I believe, Richard Wells, who is definitely far enough to not be within the top 23 on our scoreboard so far. So if they have Pro-Am aspirations for the championship, that's exactly what they want to see, to say the least.
Yeah, I think this is going to, or this is very quickly turning into a drop round for a few drivers at the moment. So they'll be hoping for some more clean races towards the end of the season. I quite like this livery on King's McLaren. It looks a little bit like a Williams eSport kind of vibe, but I do like the white into the blue, into the dark blue. It looks like the ferns on the front there, so it might be a Kiwi. Don't see a flag next to his name.
Would look good at night time, but it's kind of look like it would be emerging from the darkness.
Yeah, that's a nice looking livery. And of course, that is a sort of a shout out just to the Discord. If you're not in the OOR Discord, be sure to join in. There should be a link somewhere below the stream. Get in there, and there's a bunch of absolutely ridiculously talented livery designers and creators in the Discord. If you have any weird ideas, and I mean that sincerely, there's been some very weird ones.
The race, a great car.
Pretty cool angle here.
No worries. And, yeah, you know, it's Richard Wells having a little bit of a moment again. The Ferrari, definitely with some damage I did see as well. As we may have alluded to before, Ryan King comes into the pits, so definitely going to lose a little bit. But you know, it's got to race to your own strategy. You got to have your own race to what you're comfortable in, which is the most important thing.
I think honestly a lot of this might just come down a little bit to inexperience, really knowing what the cars are capable of in these sort of longer runs and in these conditions. Not knowing that it can go that long. So maybe they just thought, well, you know, in rookies we always used to run 45 minutes and the tires felt like death towards the end of it, or whatever the case may be, and they're just sort of driving according to that. But it's the type of thing that you learn with a little bit of experience, and see the other drivers just keep going around and wonder why is nobody else pitting? Why am I the only one pitting? And then afterwards you realize, oh, okay, now you can do a whole race without pitting. So yeah, a bit of a learning experience, I would say, for some drivers, but it's good to see some varying strategies. And this Ferrari, I don't know who it is,
Kumar.
but that's Kumar. He's piling the pressure onto Taylor here.
Yeah, definitely coming alive a little bit in these definitely a lot wetter conditions. It is still gonna be rain plus on the timing data, as Chris Taylor, getting a little bit of four-wheel slide into the corner, not necessarily even on the outside of the corner. Is the Mustang? I think it's been so hard to tell because Spinazzi and Zeri have been able to make it work at times. It's kind of been really ebbing and flowing of who looks more comfortable in the conditions, and it doesn't necessarily matter what car they're in. So there's nothing to really take away somewhat.
I mean, it's hard to say that the Ferrari is that much stronger because McDonald has had a couple of certainly moments in terms of pushing a little bit too hard and going off track, and Kumar's looked pretty strong as well. So yeah, but I mean, Spinazzi has looked fairly unshakable, apart from running a little bit wide at the exit of Dunlop, which allowed McDonald through. He's looked fairly stable and consistent throughout the race so far. And as John pointing out there, Christopher Taylor back up into P3, which is a very good recovery from him as well.
Mustang OP with that podium.
Of course, helped out by drivers pitting and spinning and penalties. And speaking of penalties, there, Tsakanias in P9 gets a 5-second penalty. I'm sure a 5-second penalty would be 4, unless it's okay. So not updating that. Okay, for unsafe.
Oh, Chris Taylor!
Chris.
Oh, I think he clipped the grass. Is he still going?
Oh,
No, he's
he's-
definitely not. I was going to say, as it swung back, he went back onto the grass on the outside entry for Degner 1, but has gotten away with it, all things considered, for the sizable slide that he had. Oh my goodness. Yes, Kumar takes the position as, yes, Mr. Taylor looks to find his marbles a little bit.
Yeah, I think he'll need a new seat after that, after his bum took a couple of bites out of it, but he managed to save it pretty well, all things considered. As we see, Lloyd is a yellow flag again at the Spoon. He's having difficult time managing that Audi on the exit of Spoon, but seems to be going again, so it shouldn't affect these guys. But yeah, Taylor will be happy he saved it, but frustrated that he had the incident to begin with, and he has to try and chase down Kumar again and try and get back on the podium.
Definitely getting into a little bit of a race of survival as the heaviest rain has waited for the end of the race, where everyone's tires are a little bit worn down and a little bit second-hand. And let's say, to be honest, I think it affects some drivers more than others, but I think unfair to say everyone's going to be a little bit more fatigued at this part of towards the end of the race. And we're going here now, and it just comes very late, as we saw it with Spinazzi a few times. Oh, he did have a big clatter at the wall. Yep, and Chris Taylor had the very late. I think the TC doesn't really engage in the fourth gear as it seems on the Mustang, and hopefully it hasn't gotten too much damage from that side impact with the wall. I think he'll get away with it, but it's got to be mentally in his head for every time he comes around Dunlop corner for the rest of these 20 minutes for sure.
Yeah, so not quite the save we thought it was, but fortunately managed to get it into mostly side contact, not a full frontal, which would have certainly done a bit more damage. See, as he comes around there now, it's always so tricky once you've had that incident. Then the next couple of laps when you approach that corner, you just lose that little bit of confidence in the car. You're not sure if it's going to do it. You're not sure if it's going to kick its ass out again, and you're tentative. And it's when you don't commit fully to some of these corners, that's when you very easily have more incidents. So kind of just need to put that incident behind you and just start pushing again like it never happened. But that's a lot easier to say than it is to actually action.
Yeah, it's a little bit of race survival, and I don't know about you two, but I've only really raced flooded conditions in a certain few amount of track, certain instances in ACC, and I think the first time was at this track. And flooded conditions is not ideal in any track, but I think here is one of the scariest places you can drive in heavy wet, not necessarily even flooded conditions, as I found out, because I was driving the old Porsche into this corner and it would never stick. It would just rotate like a coin, to say the least.
Yeah, okay, but that's the old Porsche. That
is
did that
Porsche.
on the straight that Paul Ricard, so it's not really a fair example, I would say. But yeah, no, it is
one of the
tricky
scariest
track anyway.
places.
There's so many
Heavy
corners.
wet.
That corner, the final corner out of the chicane,
Mm.
and Dunlop that we saw Chris Taylor have that incident, because it's the type of corners
river.
where and the river into turn one is of course good fun as well, but they're the type of corners where the car is like, okay, here's a bit of grip, and then right at the last moment it's like, surprise, and that's even in the dry, and then you try and do it in the wet, and it just adds to that sort of trickiness of managing the throttle.
Yeah, I think turn up your TC a bit in these conditions. I think Chris would have done that after he had that moment, to say the least. And we did see, obviously, Ryan King has now come down to P15 in Pro-Am, obviously losing out a bit doing that pit stop. But Wesley Yao still heading up in P7, did get passed by Tom McDonald on his sort of recovery drive. And Chris Taylor obviously still in P4, so it's still looking good. I think Chris will retake, if it as it stands, will regain the championship lead. Probably, maybe still ahead of Tom Mack. I'm not sure if Spinazzi will have, with only being a few places ahead. Oh my god, racing out, old Porsche, new Porsche. That's still a scary thing to happen late under that corner, because I think that Dunlop corner you did say earlier, it is a very scary guy. But I think there is a river as well that starts to develop there in certain conditions.
Yeah, no, it's a spicy old corner, and certainly makes for some good content, as these guys have absolutely put on a show through there. As we see another yellow flag there again at the exit of said corner. It looks as though there's 2 or 3 cars involved. Looks like the 777 and the 53 car. Not sure exactly. That's Atkinson in P14. 777 is not on the leaderboard at the moment, so it may have been a blue flag incident or something else. Maybe somebody just getting collected. As we see confirmation in chat that Atkinson did a big unalive, so he is taking quite a bit of damage. As you see, he returns to pit immediately. I think that car was very, very broken. Oh, that's quite wide, Wesley.
Yeah.
Back onto track. And yeah, furthermore, up at the front, Spinazzi 3.8 seconds ahead of Jerry. That gap is sort of stabilized. It's not really growing, but it's not coming down either. Both of them, I think, just sort of settled in now. They're not under any pressure from behind, so maybe happy just to settle for P1 and 2. Kumar, he still has Taylor behind him, and in fact that gap has expanded ever so slightly. Squires, after his previous adventures, is still in P5, so we'll be happy with that. As we see Lloyd goes out of the way fairly effectively. Not the safest place to do that is. It's very slippery out there, but got out of the way. And as I say that, Sherry has brought the gap down by half a second.
Oh, Leverman off in, I was going to say, that's another part of the track that gets very dangerous, as he's got a few cars coming past there. Is yeah, after the hairpin, and you are clear. Go, 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 go. Quickly now,
Go,
go,
no,
go.
Why are you waiting? Go!
No, now. Oh, he's going to reverse.
No, Nigel! Okay,
Anyway, he's played it safe. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this part of the track also now in heavy wet conditions starts to become a little bit treacherous, especially if you're, let's say, lacking a bit of tread. That's very wide. Speaking of which, the BMW has to take the wide line, and the rear tires said no, and flies off the track. That's unfortunate for Arno Loz as he finds the gravel there. It's, yeah, gonna be a very interesting last 15 minutes.
If you wondered how dodgy it is in the wet, just ask Carlos Sainz.
Oh yes.
Even in a car with that much downforce, it's a bit of an issue. Arno Loz there, he obviously had that incident fairly early on in the race. Has been on an attempted recovery, but not quite as successful as he would have liked. But yeah, that was not an ideal space to have to go on the outside line there.
It's gonna be so tricky because anyone who's basically, I think most people, yeah, as I said, same set of tires from the start, but that was over an hour ago now, and you just that lack of tread is gonna really make these conditions so difficult.
And the rain
last
is
part of the race, yeah,
increasing and increasing and increasing the whole time.
and it's
so...
it's 5 degrees colder track than it was at the start. So who knows if anyone's pressures are in the right window anymore? I can imagine some people have not got it in the perfect condition, ideal, working ranges at this point in the race. Like, it's
so
anything can happen.
Sean Bubb now and Rondinella, both of their tire pressures are sort of mid 29s to high 29s, which is a little bit under ideal, what you would hope for. It's not too dreadful. You still have the grip in the tires, but yeah, I would suspect there's quite a few drivers who are a bit lower. As we get a replay here.
He has to take the wide line. It's just on the standing water, pretty much.
Good save though.
Yeah.
Quick on the contest here and managed to save it. But a good shot from Gorilla Snapper in chat as well. Paul Kranich, who started last, sitting in P16, well P15 effectively, after Hayden Marsh will serve his penalties. So that is a great race from Kranich, although he is under pressure here from Costa, so might lose a position, but that does not negate...
Oh, the commentary curse!
Okay, so he's not under pressure from Andre Costa anymore, and I think he should be safe. Go Costa, you have a gap.
At what cost?
That cost a lot, yeah. But yeah, no, that was perfect timing. Car 27, that is Marsh, I think, again. No, Marsh is 24. No, it is Marsh. Yeah, I think it is Hayden Marsh who has come a cropper again at turn 2. So his race. Yeah, well, one of the Marshes has had a fairly uneventful race, and the other one has had a very eventful race, I would say. So as Lim gets a drive through, that'll be for track limits as well. And the Christmas tree is well and truly lit up at the moment here in Split Yellow.
29 up against Moscovus.
Again.
Oh dear. Yeah,
Oh,
not really taking to the wet conditions in the GTR as much as they would have liked, and yeah, it's unfortunately having a little bit of moment at the S.
Glenn getting excited and pushing the wrong button. Andre Costa looks like he went off again there, and we see car 45 gets a penalty. I'm not sure who that is, not on the leaderboard. So it's a Christmas decoration at the back of the tree. But
11 has had another moment. I was going to say, if you have even just like any spin in these conditions, problem is that slight flat spot that they find, they become torrential in these conditions. Like, you know, if you have another moment at all, to say the least, it's, you know, if you have a spin, I'd probably just come in to put a set of tires on it, because frankly your race is going to be ruined at this point anyway. It can become just literally undrivable.
If we can get a replay of the Atkinson incident, that would be great, Glenn. Because I think that put the end to his race, so it must have been a fairly large one. And yeah, Costa here is keeping it on track.
Time marks.
Car 27 with another penalty, 15 seconds there. So the penalty is really racking up at the moment. Car 45 has come a cropper at Spoon. These conditions are proving treacherous, and not all the drivers are handling it with quite as much aplomb as those in the top 5 at the moment. Not that I want to curse any of them.
This is kind of split guinea pig, as every other split is going to be watching this their races. So well, yes, there's lots of data for everyone else to take from.
Anybody who had tentative plans for tomorrow to go out for dinner, but I might be racing, I might be going out for dinner. I think they're going out for dinner. Just I'm not dealing with this. I don't want to try and survive the chaos.
It's a nice challenge. It's fun.
I really enjoy these conditions.
I might not say that tomorrow once I'm upside down in the barrier, if we get these kind of conditions. Oh, I think just a wheel on the painted curb.
Oh no!
Oh no! Someone else!
Oh, that is very unfortunate.
Okay. Well,
yeah, that is not okay.
Shut up.
What?
I know I didn't.
Not okay. It's LK. It's Liam K. Okay, so yeah, his car is very, very broken.
Don't forget, he's still here for split green, chat.
And we see confirmation from Tom Maloney in chat that split green is dry in qualifying at the moment.
For now.
Well, it started dry. I think it's dry there all the way through, it seems. But hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah.
I feel so sorry for Glenn having to put these settings in and just getting absolutely roasted regardless of what happens.
It's not fair, but when we're talking about a 4 out of 6 hour window, because quali and race are like 2 hour gaps between each other. Yeah, funnily enough, the weather doesn't change much.
So you're gonna have split green shouting at you for, it's not variable, it's just dry the whole time, and split yellow will be in your inbox absolutely going mental about this stupid wet race that they had to deal with. So, you know, the thankless job. He's just having moments.
But are getting on. There's only 7 minutes left, and we're going a little bit tipsy-toe, just back to the end of this race, and Spinazza, yeah, 1.2 ahead of Zeri, going well. I'm not sure if these guys are just teammates or whether they just run the same similar livery, True Blue and Green Tough. I think they are mates, to say the least. Yep, and 17. Oh, 17, that's Chris Taylor. He's yellow on the start-finish line.
No,
No!
that's
Chris!
not fuck there, sir.
Trying to do an SPG burnout on the start-finish line. That's not the right time to do it. Probably not doing. That was the intention. I think that was, yep, T-Mac has come past as well. Oh dear. We've seen the Mustang seesawing coming out the exit of a Casio Triangle, and then unfortunately come a cropper.
See that gap between Spinazza and Jerry has come down to 1.7 now. As we wait for Glenn to sift through all the doodah that's been going on today. Taylor, oof, is really on the limits there. Wondering how big that gap will be to McDonald ahead. Is it too big for him to even think about closing it down?
I think it's not too bad actually. It's he'll be still within the 15 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, he's only Degner 1. He's only just going through his Taylor T-Max quite late. Is he going to find the grass? Yes.
Just quite, yeah. Okay.
That's there we go.
No damage. So he avoided damage until he does that. That's how. What, Chris? What are we doing? Okay, so he did avoid damage
ACC.
initially.
Sorry.
But anyway, 5 seconds to McDonald ahead of him. And at the moment, I was doing enough to stay within striking distance of that penalty as well. So it's going to drop McDonald down to P7 if things stay as they are. Although, given what we've been seeing for the last 30 minutes, things staying as they are would be the exception to the rule at the moment.
Yes. I was going to say, Kumar doing a great job. He's kind of just always kind of been there, but not really like in the fight. But he's going to, hopefully inherit a P3. Just staying clean and staying on track and staying consistent is the 117. Watch him fly off the track in the next lap, as I'm saying. Or
Kumar has done a great. That's a wall. Oh no.
Disconnect.
No, he's really driven very well safely. I mean, his pace was very good early in the race. Car 9 has come off that Squires.
It's
T2 again.
Has he found the wall? No, I thought there was damage on the front. But I think he won't lose a position. Yep. Not by much though. Gonna be enough to still be in threat range. For these
yeah, it's about an S or 2 ahead. So I think he should be safe for now. But yeah, Tom also pointing out there. Yeah, I think it's so easy to just oversend it into the first 2 corners there.
You can just see the body language of the cars, just not just sliding everywhere, especially those Mustangs.
Sure, and Tom pointing out there, Sean Bubb now, he started I think P25, 26, somewhere around there. All the way up into P11, so very good recovery from him. And even Piper with his pit stop, not the superior scrap, but he's still running in P10, so still a net gain from qualifying, roughly. Apparently Piper also had a spin, so never mind.
Yeah. I was going to say he might be pushing to try and get within Sicanius' 5-second penalty, who despite his penalty has also done a very good job to just come up through the field and kind of net himself a good position if it stands. Oh, 11's off. That's T-Mac at the spoon.
Yep.
Oh dear, oh dear. It's all going off, all kicking off. There's no fences around, but oh dear, oh dear. I'm not sure if that was just his own error or whether there was a collision in that one, but the replay bot's definitely going to be on fire, I think, for this race.
I will say, based on what we've seen so far today, he's had a couple of issues in these conditions, and maybe it was self-inflicted cost. 72, I think there has come off also at Spoon, which again, Spoon is a tricky enough corner in the wet. You add moisture to it, it certainly doesn't improve the easiness of it. And Jerry now within a second of Spinazzi. Where are they? They've been through the last part of the SS, so we will have one more lap after this. Replay.
Hit the wider line trying to take. Oh, just too much speed.
Just touched the paint on the outside as well.
Oh, counter
overcorrects.
and takes lap.
There goes Christopher Taylor. Wesley Yao as well, so this could potentially...
rear damage.
I mean, he's had an adventure of day, so...
I was going to say, I don't think any car's going to be clean after this.
No. Go 5-second penalty for Lloyd, and the leaders are now on the... approaching. No. There should be another one after this, I think.
Some people might be ruining that if they're tight on fuel. It should be safe enough, and I think.
So that's gonna. Oh, Kidman with a drive-through. I was just about to say McDonald is going to lose a position to Kidman, but never mind. Tom Kidman, thank you very much for ruining that. As we see, Spinazzi starts the final lap. You can see the last lap at 2:15. That's 7 seconds off the pace they were running at the start of the race, just to give you an idea of how treacherous it's become. And Jerry is...
Yeah, their teammates, I think there'll be team orders for sure, unless Spinazzi throws it off. This is the test of their teammate strength, put it this way. I'm thinking more Webber and Vettel.
Matthew, please remember the meetings we have every Sunday morning.
Maintaining the gap.
Yes. Jerry certainly not going to make it easy for him as they go through Degner 2 here. Spinazzi looking pretty unflappable so far, but we do have a couple of very tricky corners coming up. And Jerry is looking the faster of the two at the moment, whether that's down to tires or exhaustion or just downright nerves. I'm not sure if Spinazzi has won a race in OR, I'm not sure. I know he's won many races before. I'm not sure if he's taken one in OR, but he still has Spoon, 130R and the Garcia Triangle to navigate, and he will be taking the win here in split yellow. Jerry still there, letting him know that any mistake will be very heavily punished. And Spinazzi looking pretty strong as they come down towards 130R for the final time. Just needs to keep it on track, just needs to keep it safe and out of the striking distance into the braking zone. Keeps it within the limits nice and comfortably. And one more heavy braking zone and then just manage the Mustang out of the Garcia Triangle. He has done everything he's needed to do today to take the win here in split yellow. Jerry has put up a good old fight, but just not quite enough at the end. And Spinazzi will take the victory, and Jerry crosses the line in P2. They are almost side by side in that final drag race. 1/10 of a second separates the winners. Harsh Kumar coming down the final straight. He's had a fairly uneventful race, but if you have an uneventful podium, you're going to take it any day of the week, and he will take P3. Aidan Squires, in these conditions he has railed against for ages, comes in at P4, and he has had a fantastic race, even with a couple of incidents as he puts on a little bit of style towards the end of the race there with a little bit of a drift. That's some cockiness towards the end here, just to show off a little bit as he does a bit of drift into the sign. Christopher Taylor, he'll be ruining what could have been, but I think he'll take a P5 all things considered after the incidents he had throughout the race. And then Wesley Yao will take the victory in the Pro-Am class. Great drive from him. Tom McDonald will cross the line in P7 and in theory not lose any positions with his penalty. And another bit of a what could have been for him as well, given the incidents he had.
I think he'll lose one to Sicanius, at least. And a very good drive there
No,
from
because
the
Sicanius has a
277.
penalty.
Oh, yes, that's true. Mass. Sean Bob no penalty, and comes across the line. Will not benefit from Sicanius' penalty, but does a very good job to bring it home. P9 in just a top 10 is a massive victory for any of these drivers, I think, in these conditions. As Piper does complete that top 10, as we'll have a very short turnaround, I imagine, for Split Green because of the longer race.
Back in a second.
We'll, I imagine, quickly run through the results and then switch things over with our short intermission as we wait for all the drivers to finish, because otherwise ACC likes to throw a fit. But I'll quickly point my driver today is definitely going to be Wesley Yao for me. Brent Sykes?
Squires, I think he's done quite well. Hold on to a P4 in conditions that he's publicly not like. I think he's done very well.
Yeah, hopefully a bit of a learning experience, and the whole top 10 is full of drivers today, I have to say. But great job by Spinaze and Zeri for their 1-2, team 1-2. As I imagine, we will probably miss the qualification for race for Split Green, but overall for race 1, Spinaze followed by Zeri and Kumar for overall silver is headed up by Zeri, Kumar, and Squires. Pro-Am is headed up by Yao, Sicanius, and King, and Am is followed up by Fisher, Kranich, and Lerman. Congratulations to everyone in Split Yellow. We will quickly end it there and head over to Split Green and be back in a moment. And welcome back. And welcome back. Catching just the very end of Split Green for qualification for Split Green here at Octane Online Racing for the Sprint Series. Round 3, Suzuka. Great race from Split Yellow. Curious everyone there. Thank you to Brent Sykes in our commentary booth, but me and Peach will be joined by the wonderful Alexis Bowen. How are you today?
Yes, I am doing fantastic. It is great to be at one of the best circuits in the world, Suzuka. I love this track. It is fast, it is technical, it is a really, really tricky track for all these drivers. I think the only thing it can sometimes struggle with is the racing, but if Split Green's anything like Split Yellow, then we're in for an absolute treat.
Yep, and we'll... Sorry, go on with Peach.
Confirmation of the qualifying there. Fadli Rahmat. Whoa!
Oh my god,
very
it is.
wet.
Okay, but look in half an hour,
Right. Excellent.
Interesting.
But just to confirm your grid there, we have a Ferrari front row with Rahmat and Taufik, and then Mustang second row, Brad Cook, Jacob Weatherburn, Graham Hill, Benjamin Hignett, Smith, Barker, Jusman, and King rounding out your top 10. 3 brands of cars there, but dominated by the Ferraris and the Fords. And yeah, it's good to see Fadli Rahmat. He was supposed to be in Split Red, but assuming he changed, he hasn't raced actually this season. Yeah, no, fair enough. Late change from him there up to Split Green, but he'll have some step competition regardless of which split he's in with Taufik, Cook, Weatherburn, Hignett, Barker. Quite a few very, very fast drivers in the split. So as we can see, very wet at the moment, but it's going to stop raining in about 10-15 minutes. And the track will dry out in the temperatures we have here. This track will dry out very quick. So it's going to be an interesting strategy to try and call when to come in for those fresh tires.
Absolutely, and well, I'd say at the moment, in the dry at least, the Ferraris had the pace advantage. Rakhmat and Taufik were a long way clear of the Mustangs with Cook and Weatherburn in the times, but this rain could be the great equalizer between them, so we'll have to see what happens, and we'll have to keep a very, very close eye on when that rain does disappear from the radar, because it does say half an hour it will be gone, but we don't know anything between that 10-minute and 30-minute timer. It could be 15 minutes time, it could be 30 minutes time.
Yeah,
course,
and
the
decently
joy
warm
of-
conditions as well.
Yeah, and the joys of ACC weather widget, which maybe rain, maybe not. You'll have to figure it out on your own. So yeah, as you said, anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes, the rain may stop, and we'll get a little bit of confirmation. So yeah, gonna be very tricky. I love those conditions where it's changing over, and it's all down to who makes the correct call when to change the tires. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Some very, very fast drivers,
30 seconds.
and should be interesting.
Quick run on the championship is headed up by Brad Cook, who is P3 on the grid on 287 points, 70 points over Benjamin Hignett, who I believe is in P5 in the Aston Martin. Tim Purcell heads up silver class on 137 points, 28 points over Demiano Fercolini. Norton Hode, with a very good run at Barcelona, heads up Pro-Am on 97, 21 points over Dylan King. And Alex Pascal Armstrong in the Lamborghini on 75 points, doing a great job in AM, 29 over Tristan Digby.
Yeah, this is a very competitive split for sure, and with the addition of Fadli Rahmat, that'll certainly just spice things up even more. Yeah, these are the type of conditions that really sort of separate the class of the field. And depending on who's brave enough to make the call first, or who makes the correct call in terms of when to change tires, when to box and stuff like that. So a lot of things to process while trying to keep the car on a track that's tricky enough in the dry, difficult in the wet. So yeah, really looking forward to see what these guys are capable of, and I really do love that livery on Taufik's Ferrari. The Shark looks fantastic.
It really fits these conditions as well. Of course, the shark being a predominantly ocean species, and it's not quite an ocean here at Suzuka, but it's gotten very, very close to that with the amount of rain we've seen here tonight. Probably the most rain we've seen in an ACC round for a hot minute. Always good to see it come back, as long as it doesn't overstay its welcome like it has in the past. But either way, we're in for something very, very exciting. And as you said, Paige, it's going to be all up to the drivers here. It puts a lot of pressure onto these fantastic drivers to make the right call at the right time, and that's the crucial part. You can nail the timing on your pit stop for when
It's on
it
dry.
transitions between wet and dry, you're set.
Did you just say Hignett is on rise?
I see yellow markings.
Yeah, I see that too.
Sorry to interrupt, Alexis. I just blurred it out. It's, I just saw it in chat as well from Jai Fisher.
Yeah, that it does seem like he's on dry. That's bold,
Okay.
because it's
Wow.
I get it, but I'm not sure I'll go for it.
Honestly, I don't think this rain's going to disappear for another 20-25 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I,
he's going to plummet.
Yeah.
He's going to plummet down the field here.
I applaud the braveness, but I don't think whether that's a mistake or intentional, he's made a mistake. I would say that's not going to turn out well for Benjamin Hignett there.
Yeah, as Fluky Luke has said, it's definitely a bold strategy.
I love this livery of Smith here, the Caterpillar Ford. Some good liveries for the Ford, and it's a car that lends itself well to these sort of supercar, NASCAR inspired liveries, same as the Shelby Power one here from King. And as they come around the Casio triangle for first time as we are about to start the race, Benjamin Hignett dives off into pit lane. So Fadli Rahmat will lead them away. Mayin Taufik in second place. Brad Cook, Jacob Weatherburn on the second row. And then behind that is a bit of a mishmash now with Hignett messing things up ever so slightly in terms of the organization of the grid. But we are about to go green here in split green. As we focus on King in P8, technically speaking. As the Mustangs at the front, it looks like Cook got a good run coming down to turn 1. Unable to see exactly what is going up at the front. Fadli is ahead. Taufik settles down into P2, and then they're side by side in the back there between the Ferraris of Hill and Barker, I want to say. And they seem to have settled down nicely. I don't see any yellow flags as it goes, but this is the part where things really tighten up, and it's very, very tricky to manage in these conditions, as the tires are not quite up to temperature yet. The tires are warming up, and the grip is not where you think it should be. But everybody seems to have made it through pretty much drama-free so far, as we come up through Dunlop into the first Degner, and this is where the first heavy braking zone really starts affecting the drivers, and people can close up and potentially misjudge it. But so far so good, as we do have a yellow flag now there for car 212 in the background at the exit of Dunlop. We saw quite a few cars come across, but in split yellow there, and he has returned to pit, so that may have been a very big incident. As Jan here in the McLaren in P30, just behind Stewie Matthews and ahead of Dale Lawson. Everybody has... Whoa, never mind. It's all gone wrong at the hairpin, as... not sure.
What to say? I'm not sure. That might be King
Mike Reel?
and... I'm waiting for who that actually is. I won't even try and guesstimate who that is. But it looks like it is Ivan Muliano. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe it Aston Mine, I think, from the Pit Viper Aston, so whoever that may be, the car 91, I'm guessing, of D King. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Sam Austin. Sam Austin in the 121 car, and then Dylan King just the back like that as well. So, no safety car, everybody is still going at racing speed, it appears. And Fadli Rahmat in his first race in split green for the season is already well and truly clear of Mount Taufik. It's more than a second gap after the first lap. And having raced against Rahmat, I know what it feels like when he just does things in a car that you are not capable of doing. And 1.7 second gap. Never mind, he also goes off track, so he's not infallible.
That is something we're very well capable of doing.
I'm very good at that, yes, no.
He is human.
Yeah, sometimes. But
Yeah,
no, it's... Go ahead.
Yeah, Rahmat is a very, very fast driver. I've driven alongside him during the Bathurst 12-hour earlier in the year, and he is absolutely rapid. So the pace that he's able to extract out of the cars is incredible. But yeah, just showing signs he is still a little bit human. Someone who is also human there, Jacob Weatherburn, just go a little bit wide through Dunlop. Nearly allows Hill to go on through, but manages to close the door again. I mean, Hill trying to go around the outside of Degner 1 would have always ended badly, I think.
Yeah, even in the
yet
dry,
to
that's
see
not really a
cars.
move that happens.
I've yet to see cars go side by side through Degner 1, and I hope to never see it ever.
Well, usually when you see them go... Who's in the pits? Hignett? Okay. Did he put dry tires on in his pit stop? Or...
Well, I think I saw from Gorilla Snapper that he's not able to pit in on 0 either, so...
Oh, so he would have had to just drive through, so...
Yes.
P2 in the championship.
Not anymore.
Plummeting, to say the least.
I would say that that second position is not necessarily safe. And speaking of second position, Taufik here under a lot of pressure from Brad Cook. Weatherburn has dropped behind Barker now. And it would be good if Purcell could dive up into P10, so we have a a top 10 of only Porsches and only Ferraris and Fords. Topic might be under significant pressure here, but managed to get a good run out of there. Will Cook be able to get side by side on the outside, 2x2 into turn 1 in the wet? That's going to take some big old kahunas from Brad Cook.
Oh,
And he
what a
only
move.
bloody goes and does it. Bloody hell, what a move from Brad Cook there.
That was incredible. You could see that Taufik overshot the braking zone into the Casio Triangle. And yeah, just absolutely brilliant stuff there from Brad Cook around the outside of the first corner. You don't see too many moves like that. Yeah, no, very, very well executed.
Ivan Mugliano has gone a drive-through for causing a collision on the first lap, which dare say maybe why him and King were in the gravel at the hairpin, to say the least, which is very unfortunate. And the dim view taken is look like gonna be a very tricky race, and gonna get even trickier with drive-through serves.
Yeah, so that's a good way to sort of end your race fairly quickly, unfortunately for him. But yeah, looking at the weather widget there, it's less rain in 10. So yeah, by about the hour mark, the rain is going to be a lot less, and I suspect about 10 minutes or so after that, we may have no rain. No ballast applied, according to Gorilla Snapper in the server, which would explain certain things, I guess. But hopefully that's just a mistake. Yeah, it seems though there's no BOP applied, so
Oh dear.
yeah, obviously the Ferrari gets 26 kilograms here, so you know, losing that 26 kilograms is definitely going to improve its performance, I would say.
Yeah, that would definitely explain a bit why the top 8 is Ferraris and Mustangs, and
Just
also
got a
explain
message that Weatherburn's game has crashed. He was running in P5. He is no longer in the race after his game crashed.
Yeah, I was wondering because before that was top 9, and then all of a sudden it was top 8. So I was like, who dropped out? No, that's unfortunate for Weatherburn. He qualified well in P4, dropped the position to Barker, and now we'll have to basically start over again.
Apparently his internet has come a cropper as well, so not ideal for him there. Brad Cook 2.5 seconds behind Rahmat. Rahmat really putting in a show so far in the first couple of laps of this race. Taufik sticking with Cook there in P3, and we see Benjamin Hignett here falling behind for a more dramatic victory. He will have to most likely go in box again if he's on wet tires, so he's doing the much vaunted single drive-through double stop strategy, and we'll see how that plays off for him towards the end of the race.
I'm gonna say, with a stop in the race looking likely if it is gonna go dry later in this race, he's got an opportunity at the very least to gain on many of the drivers in front of him. Obviously his speed alone will gain on a lot of the drivers that are ahead of him, but he is actually not falling off the lead lap. He's just pretty close to being off the lead lap, as the leaders are only just a few, probably about 10-15 seconds behind him. But you know, I think if he was actually fully lapped as well, he would find things, you know, it would be a lot more of a race to Rouge in terms of what he could potentially recover. But yeah, that's maybe his only saving grace, as I imagine we'll continue with this race with if Bob hasn't been playing. I did see there potentially might have been something that Split Green was maybe still set to Barcelona earlier on. Yeah.
I wonder why nobody said there's an issue with the Bob, because most of the cars gain weight here.
I think the only logical course is to blame Lucas Keys, for one, but
I think
also,
that's a fair shout.
for every kilo of bop that hasn't been applied, we'll just add that to the time of whatever car they're driving. That seems like a very fair solution that has no repercussions.
I don't know why, but I feel like you might get some pushback from some of the drivers. I'm not sure.
Perhaps.
This is
I'm just a commentator. I'm not
purely me
involved
speculating.
anything.
But
I think you got to get pushback from the drivers regardless.
true.
I think I
get pushback regardless.
I think I agree with John and Brewer in chat there. It's a bit of a boo boo, but at the end of the day, this is still just something that's meant to be for a bit of fun. So
No, for sure. And you look at the drivers who are currently in the top 10, and they're the same drivers that are in the top 10 week in, week out anyway. So it's not as though it's all of a sudden put somebody who's a lower class AM up into the lead. So I don't think anybody's really going to be too
I was
upset
also
with it.
gonna say, yeah. I was gonna say, Jasmine also isn't an AM on pace, just on pace. I will say.
Yeah.
That's one to watch out. If anyone is confused in the standings, it's definitely not an AM driver.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think we can all agree that Lucas Keys is at fault, and that Fadli Rahmat is very fast. And on that bombshell, we shall continue with another 65 minutes of racing around a drying Suzuka, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think this top three is, to be honest, probably pretty much settled, unless they of course make a mistake or something like that. But the rest of the top 10 should still be up for grabs, and yeah, still a long way to go. A very long way to go. In fact, more than a normal sprint race to go, and we've already been going for about 12 minutes.
Yes, indeed. As we watch over Jasmine doing nicely there in P8, is listed as an AM on the entry list that I have here, but Smith just going a bit quite wide, and Jasmine goes through.
Yes, we saw quite a few of those Mustang moments in split yellow at that particular part of the track as well. We'll be doing no favours, but yeah. I think, not to touch too much on the bop settings, the only cars that really did lose a lot of weight, therefore the people who would be in trouble if it was if they were a racing car, generally cars that are not actually here tonight, such as the Bentley. So if Pete was here, I think he would have some more to say to least.
I mean,
Yeah,
Peach is here, just not quite in the right part of the equation, I'd say.
I think there's certain cars that gain a kilo or 6 kilos or something like that, which is not a huge deal. Something like the Ferrari, where it's 26 kilos, that's quite a big benefit. Or the opposite side of the spectrum, the Lexus or the Bentley that loses 30 and 40 respectively. That's a big change. And I remember doing the rookie practice race on Sunday night and forgetting that I don't have my much coveted minus 40 kilos, and it made quite a difference, I will say, in terms of the overall performance of the car. But as I said earlier, there's still your pretty standard drivers that you see in the top 10 are driving around in the top 10. So yeah, it makes a difference, but not as much as one would hope, I guess. But anyway, it does seem as though this top 10 has sort of really spread out quite a lot. It's a huge field spread with 3 second, 2 second gaps between drivers, all the way down to P7, and then Dylan Smith's the only one where there's a little bit of a battle going on, where we see Ben Winton here just behind him. Both of them chasing down Jusman with Fercolini, another 1.6 seconds behind that, and seeing a lot more field spread than we did in split yellow.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, there are a few little battles forming. You've got Purcell and Tonkin there, PLMP12, Digby's sort of hanging around. Oh, never mind. Digby's just had an incident and is around.
Oh, 118. I think you get the feeling he's on the inside of that corner and just having to wait until there's a gap.
Okay.
There he is. And might have been another victim of just going a bit wide and just bottoming out on the grass and between the grass and the track in the Lexus.
Not enough weight to hold him down.
Yeah, unapply the bop. The bop caused
Oh,
there's a McLaren. Not sure who that is. The car of 43. That looks like a 43. Beaten. Yep. It's come a cropper at Degnitude.
I saw on Beaton's Twitch stream before the race started, his tire pressures were very wrong. He started the race on like 29 psi cold tires, and they are currently sitting at 33 plus psi. So that is a little bit outside the ideal window where you want to be. But we see Brian Kong there getting the first penalty of this, well, second penalty after Mulyono's drive-through, but the 15-second penalty there for Kong.
Reasonable sort of whack for the Spaghetti Ferrari driver. Yeah, right now dropping down a few spots. But he's sort of, stuck in a bit of no man's land. 6 seconds to Tonkin ahead and 5 seconds to Pascal Armstrong behind.
Yeah. So just to know, anyone who's been watching from Split, these drivers have been handling these wet conditions a lot better. Bear in mind that they're laden down with fuel and have got way more tread on their tires than the Split Yellow had when the rain came at the very end. So they're definitely a lot easier to drive with that under you, unlike Split Yellow. But definitely getting towards this rain, going to be stopping somewhat imminently, and potentially we shall see. The track temperature is going up since the start. I think it started at 29 when we were on the grid, and it's now come up to 32 as with 30 cars, just about 30 cars, it's not an insignificant amount. More cars on track generally tries to track out a lot more, as well as obviously the ambient and track temps helping massively. So I'd be interested to see the development and the evolution of the track once this rainfall stops.
Quite a lot of cars on track as well, and as you said, with the heat, there's 30 cars on track, very hot conditions. I suspect this track might dry out very, very quickly from a wet track to a fast, potentially an optimal track.
They're going to
so
greasy very quickly, I imagine.
Yes. So this is where these wet tires are. You're going to have to find that balance of when to stop. I suspect the rain will stop in the next 2 minutes or so, from my purely speculative guess.
Yeah, we're
That
down
track
to
already.
Oh,
And it's
that's
still
the
raining.
Rain stopped. Nope, rain's still going.
Bit of a dive there from Brendan Paul. He wasn't able to pull it off on Pascal Armstrong, but down the straight will have a bit of a slipstream in these damp conditions, and is gaining on Alex Pascal Armstrong. Going towards turn one, it's going to be hard to get a move done, and he has to back out of it, and that's probably the smart thing. But Pascal Armstrong goes very, very wide, and is he going to lose 2 positions here? Yes, he does lose a position to Carter as well.
Such an easy mistake to make. It's like I said a couple of times already, this is a tricky track, and especially that turn one is a tricky corner in the dry, and trying to get your braking absolutely right when you have a Lamborghini making himself about 4 car widths wide behind you, filling your mirrors and just guessing where to brake. It's a very easy mistake to make there. And from Pascal Armstrong, our AM class, well, leader in this race and championship leader so far, has been really putting in a good performance so far this season.
Yeah, really been doing a very good job in the Lamborghini, and dare say maybe doesn't have the experience somewhat in the wet, but everyone's got to start somewhere, and you can only learn by doing it. I will say, it only makes you a better driver. It'll be interesting to see once things dry out. Like you said at turn one, very difficult, very easy mistake to make, but also got that little river that that flows across the track as the camber of turn 1 becomes apparent, and be interested to see once it dries out, that river likes to still stay there. You can get a little bit of a a little bit of an aquaplane, and I find it it's just enough to just slightly unsettle you, distract you, and it's going to be very interesting to see once it dries out. But John Carter here doing a good job as well in Pro-Am class. Our was once Pro-Am leader in the championship before Norton Hurd took over, but Norton Hurd not having a terrible race, but down there in P20, so definitely a long way to go. Definitely not indicative of where I imagine anyone's going to finish if Split Yellow was anything to go by.
Yeah, it's going to be wide open, this one, so we'll have to keep our eyes focused on what happens here. Still a little bit of rain lingering in the air, so the track will remain damp for a little bit. But yeah, that track temperature rising. It's going to be very quickly into greasy, and then probably your green conditions not too long after that.
The fact that the track went damp while it's still raining is not a good sign for people with pressures that are a little bit over at the moment.
Everyone's been looking for the standing water at any possible moment I've been seeing from these cars.
And Glenn saying that he loves this livery. I firmly agree with that. It's a very well done livery, and yeah, beautiful. I still love the Brendan Pauly Aperture Lamborghini ahead of him as well. Quite a nice one by him as well. Yeah, so things are going to start getting interesting over the next 3 or 4 laps as we see car 14 there get a penalty, Graham Hill, for causing a collision. Not sure we had a look at or we saw that on screen, but interesting. We also see Benjamin Piper is in chat. Yeah, 5 second for collision is an interesting one.
Ben Piper, I believe it did cross the line P10, or potentially I think it was P11 maybe. In Split Yellow, having a little bit of a tumultuous race, being right up there at the pointy end, I will say, and great to see it from the Audi driver. But in chat, probably having a long old rest. Like, this race is going to be absolutely exhausting for me. I'm already dreading it for tomorrow.
Why? It's looked so easy so far, and it has now stopped raining.
Definitely not a Brandon Pauly's on dries. Just noticed. I hope that is actually correctly synchronized with what he's actually driving with. But he's looked like he's looking for wet parts of the track, so maybe not.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's on. What?
Not sure why. That if he's looking to cool down his tires,
I think that's a visual glitch. That would have to be some kind of glitch.
Yeah.
ACC is a perfect game with absolutely no issues whatsoever.
Yes, absolutely. So he's got the Mustang of Ivan. Thankfully gets out of the way. But yeah. Gonna say he's big trouble. There we go. Just
never change, ACC. Never change.
It's got that portal technology on these tires.
See, Beaton's rear tires are already 34 psi. That's still fine. They'll still go another 4 or 5 laps at least.
It's gonna dry out so it's come up to 34 track temp and 27 ambient. It's really warming up.
So the drivers get the slick tires optimum warning now, although to be fair, yet another feature on ACC that is shall we say a little bit inaccurate. And saw another yellow flag there. It looked like car 37 going slowly. That's Lawson in the Porsche. I think he had an incident at Degner 2, I want to say.
There is Lawson just there, and he's trying to find any sort of
track by in the pits.
As the 69 of Tonkin is around as well, and returns to pits.
That's very kind of him, but seeing he's right in front of the leader in the box. As yes, Fragmat first to
Oh, he
blink,
gone.
and yep, unfortunately that looks like Tonkin's day is done. And definitely going to be a tyre change given the weight and the conditions. But yeah, still showing damp. ACC likes to be a bit of a flick of a switch on its conditions of late as Rackmat gets rolling again, but everyone else is coming in and feeling it's appropriate time. Be interested to see what the cars relative to Rackmat will do. And comes out on track.
Oh no!
What's he done? Oh no! It looks like I can see yellow markings. He's stopped. He's going
reset
again.
something. What happened?
That
He had to
was-
reset something, maybe.
That was weird.
Yeah. Did he hit his ignition instead of his pit?
Yeah. Perhaps did he stall because it looks like he just didn't get any drive out of the pits.
Not sure what lead he
Or-
had.
7 seconds before the pit stop. So maybe he just wanted to make it interesting. I don't know. Obviously, something went wrong, but I'm not sure it cost him enough to potentially lose the lead. But that's a big call going in so early when the track is still damp. I mean, the dry tires don't work as well as the wets on a damp track, but it sort of approaches that crossover point, and then as soon as it hits greasy, that's when the dry tires become the superior tire. But it is still damp at the moment.
It's a fairly big track as well. That takes a while to might be the reason why it takes a while to dry out.
Yeah, but it's about 1,000,000 degrees centigrade and 30 cars, so
Understanding CC impossible.
And getting confirmation that he did in fact hit his ignition instead of the limiter, so just spices things up a little bit. He already spiced it up by coming into the pits as early as he has. Now he's got traffic ahead of him to contend with, and
Good position
also
as well.
time disadvantage with the unfortunate pit exit.
So Cook and Taufik, everybody else who was in the, well, I want to say battle, I mean he's 7 seconds ahead, but the ones who could potentially challenge him all stayed out, so they obviously still think that the wets are
that's
the right
bad.
call at the moment. As he takes the Tom McDonald line through 130R, and Brad Cook in the Ford is currently your on-track leader, almost 8 seconds ahead of Taufik. Taufik just a second ahead of Barker, so he's not going to have a relaxing race for the rest of the 48 remaining minutes. As he runs a bit deep at the hairpin there, and that's going to allow Barker to get even closer, and Graham Hill just behind them on track. He's looking at any sort of opportunity to present itself. Question is, will these guys dive into pit lane this lap around, or will they stay out for one more?
Well, so far I'd say this is a very, very good drive from Barker, holding as close to Taufik as he is, and we all know how fast Taufik is as track has gone greasy, so I reckon these drivers will be in this lap.
Yep, absolutely.
Good shout on that one, and you can see the dry line is becoming ever more recognizable on the track as well. Whatever line though you take though through Casio, it's clear you don't cut enough. I still can't believe what they can get away with, the criminality of it.
What
Casio
is a
Tango
track limit?
as they get it stopped just about as
Taufik
goes around,
and
Barker goes
Barker
around.
continue.
Graham Hill, I think, has come in as he's not behind them. Yep, there we
He's
go.
got a 5-second penalty
5
though,
seconds.
so
Yep.
Ooh,
That was very fast by that last
yeah.
thing.
Yep.
Nah,
King will have to be
calculated.
careful of that.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
that
that's
was-
really-
Oh,
I was
I
gonna
think
say-
there's a few that have overshot there. Vintner and Smith.
many years ago, I found myself, it's like I've done a practice pit entry, but neglecting to realize that was in the dry, not the wet, and it is fairly bumpy on entry here.
So, pro tip, the cars take longer to stop in the wet than they do in the dry. So, not sure if that helps you for tomorrow's race.
Good PSA.
But just so you're aware. And yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean,
Do I
we
look
see-
like Jamie Conboy to you?
know what you look like, but if you're that handsome, then good for you, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, so with a
okay.
with
Oh,
a
there he is.
greasy track,
He's ahead.
Cook's coming out ahead of Rakhmat. Yeah, Cook has managed to get ahead of Rakhmat. So found a fair bit of time with Rakhmat's little mistake coming out of the pits, and also staying out that little bit longer while the track was still damp. But the crucial thing is Rakhmat will have those tyres in a better working window as we see Vintner and Smith get stop-go 30s. They will need to serve that, and I had a feeling they'd get them given how fast they were going into the pit lane.
Yeah. Not
I
surprising
mean,
at all.
I think we were hoping for perfectly calculated, but I think it was maybe overly optimistic.
That's certainly a way of putting it.
Cook has Rando, the car ahead of him, who is for position as well, so not obliged to get out of the way. As the leaders are coming through, Rando does go pretty wide at the hairpin, intentionally or unintentionally getting out of the way for at least Cook, and Taufik may be scuppered a little bit, as I think there's really close to contact.
Keep it on
Oh,
track.
and he just about keeps it on track as it got way too close to comfort for the Ferrari driver for sure. Taufik Barker, as I said, in the pits now. Interesting to see where they come out relative to these two. But yes, I was going to say, like, it's fairly warm conditions here, so it's not too bad. But Suzuka takes a while to build up those pressures for this particular circuit, I've found, and it can prove quite decisive on the outlaps.
Yeah, certainly a difficult track to fire them up. Is that a? That's not a blue flag. No, whoop, it is a blue flag. He takes the esports line there through the chicane. And Taufik and they're moving yet? No, not yet. Ignat is still ahead of these guys, so that's good. There he goes. Taufik, he starts moving, but he will be still probably 7 seconds or so ahead. Barker drops. Is he going to accelerate?
Barker's
Barker
ahead.
has undercut, or not an undercut, the superior pit stop, I would say.
Yeah, that's really well done there by Barker, and he now moves up into what is third place on the road.
I'm happy I'm not Brad Cook at the moment. That's all I'll say. But Fadli Rahmat is a very, very fast operator. He's very fun to drive against because he is super, super clean. But he's... Oh, that's not what you want to be doing, Brad. Oh, side by side. No,
Right,
he's fast
got it
already.
on.
Okay, never mind. I don't mind being Brad now. It's fine. The pressure is gone.
Yep. It was just, yeah, a little bit wide going through Dunlop curve, as has been the case for a lot of the Mustangs tonight. And unfortunately for Brad Cook, he's succumbed to the pressure, but Rakhmat being able to overcome his little errors before and back up in the P1 where really he probably belongs.
So Barker and Taufik 12 seconds behind Cook. That was like 7 seconds before the pit stop. So I don't know. Did Barker have a Formula One pit stop versus the rest of them or something? He gained so much time. But anyway, he's well ahead, and Taufik now behind Barker. I think Barker was showing the superior pace in that opening stanza, and I suspect he may start to just open that gap ever so slightly. Let's see on the next update whether he is actually opening it up. But then right behind him, King in that Mustang, he was one of the drivers who absolutely sent it into pit lane. So yeah, 13 seconds. Now Taufik has closed the gap down to Barker a little bit, so it's not going to make it easy for him. But King, yeah, he put the car up into P5, and then Graham Hill with his penalty down into P6. So I want to say we had, what, 4 or 5 Mustangs in the top 10 initially. And,
Oh yes, so we had Smith drop down with multiple stop-go 30s. He's picked up another
Yes.
stop-go 30. And then of course we lost Yoda as
Oh.
well. Oh dear.
13, I think I saw.
Yeah,
No,
so
not the 13.
The
That's Barker.
McLaren there, they'll probably be rad.
Does get pretty loose there on the exit, and I imagine some of these curves are still retaining their moisture, and yeah, not ideal so far. Track is still greasy, so not far, not too optimal to say the least. I dare say it'll probably
Like-
go straight to fast, I imagine, once it stops being greasy.
Looked as though Digby had an incident on exit of Spoon as well. He's gotten going again, but yeah, I think he dropped behind Danny Vu now. So I'm not sure if he maybe just over-rotated or kept turning like we saw from that McLaren there in the first part of the SS. But no, I was very much wrong about Taufik lacking the pace against Barker. He is all over the back of him, really piling the pressure on. So this should be an exciting race for these two for the remaining 40 minutes of this race.
I think Moyen might still, just take a little bit longer to wind up his speediness, to say the least. Whereas Barker's a little bit more full send. I think that's not an unfair criticism or aspect we could say to his driving. He's always been very much on it throughout things, and definitely a Ferrari staple. Both of these drivers, frankly, have been. I haven't seen them in anything other than 296s since it came out.
Yeah, he's been a fairly consistent Ferrari.
Oh,
connoisseur.
dear.
Oh, he's
As
on
we
deep
say it.
there.
Is it going to be
No, it's still in there.
Woo!
So close, and that
That was
was more what very close. Taufik, definitely knows he's got Barker on the ropes a little bit with that wide entry and a little bit of a better line into turn 1 and 2 subsequently. And it's very much a package deal with these first two corners at Suzuka, and Barker kind of having to just drive defensive somewhat with the speed that Moyen is showing.
So we see confirmation from Diables that the stop-go for the 347 car, the second one, again, was reviewed and he was 10 plus kilometers over the speed limit, so that's why it was...
Oh, here we go.
forwarded.
This is a
big... Ooh, squeeze by
You're not going
Barker.
to get a move done around the outside there. Oh, he backs out of it. Oh. That was, again, very, very close. But you can see the pace that Taufik has now over Barker now. The conditions have dried out. And unfortunately, Cameron Fisselthwaite, you were a little bit wrong. The track is sitting at green and has not gone straight to fast.
Yeah, wrong on that account. And
Ferox
yeah.
and being wrong, name a more iconic duo.
Yeah.
And just to answer Hamster's question in chat, yes, it was raining and it stopped raining after about 15-20 minutes or so.
Yeah, it was about
Taufik is
17, I think.
Yeah, Taufik is
Fortunately.
so close.
It's really close. And gonna have a run down to 1 for the other. But unfortunately for our P2 in the championship, has just been lapped by our leader, as he hasn't really been able to. He was only just ahead after the pit stops, and unfortunately the leaders have caught him, so not ideal for the SMI. Wide from Barker on the exit. Mohin goes to the outside. It is possible around the outside here. He holds it around the
what a
outside,
move.
carries the speed, and gets it done. Excellently done by Taufik in the 711 car.
That was an excellent move there from Taufik, but it's not over yet. You've got Barker with the slipstream going down towards the first turn. It's not going to be easy for him, especially around the outside, and he does have to back out of it. But Taufik does go a little bit wide. Barker gets that inside curb, and that scutters that effort. But what a move from Taufik around the outside of the Casio triangle. You can see Barker going a little bit wide through 130R, and that allowed Taufik to hold that outside line with the overspeed and get it done.
Just have to give some credit to Barker there as well. It's so easy on that inside to bounce over that curb and make contact with the car going around the outside, but he managed to slow it up nicely, take the line and allow the space. And yeah, Taufik absolutely committed into that beautiful move, and great racing by both of them. And look just
King is
how
coming.
much this battling has allowed King to catch up, yeah. And Hill is not too far behind him, so yeah, these guys can't really afford to battle too much more, or it will very quickly become a battle of 4.
Some big gains out there. Pascal Armstrong and Norton Hode up into P11 and P12 when they were sort of around the mid to 20 marks, mid-teens to 20s. Like it's a lot of positions gained in the pit stops.
Yeah, when you have a couple of drive-throughs and stop-go 30s to serve, then definitely gained you a couple of positions. And as we all know, pit stops in ACC is a bit of a finicky thing, I would say. It's very easy to lose 5-6 seconds just by missing your box ever so slightly. And David Barker under all kinds of pressure now from Jared King here, sorry. And yeah, if he can get a good run out of the Casio triangle here, he might well have a little look into turn 1. That looks as though Barker had an absolute belter of a chicane there, not really close enough to make anything happen this time around. But just up the front, Fadli Rahmat has pulled a gap of about 4.5 seconds on Brad Cook since he has got it past, and then Taufik is 14 seconds behind. Now, Taufik and Barker are not slow drivers. To pull a gap of 14 seconds in such a short amount of time just really shows you the quality of some of the drivers that we have in OOR for sure.
Most definitely, and I'd say there was a fair amount of that delta built up with the varying pit strategies too. With Cook probably getting the most optimal strategy on the pit stops, coming in as the track became greasy, with Taufik and Barker extending that extra lap. Rahmat probably had a right-ish idea had he not have maybe just ruined things a little bit with the pit exit and accidentally hitting the ignition, but it just goes to show how much pressure these drivers can be put under when someone of Rahmat's quality can make such a pedestrian error.
Wait, so let me get this straight. You're saying that turning the car off is not the optimal strat when you go out of pits?
Perhaps.
I mean, that's a big call, Alexis. That's a very, very big call to make. But yeah, King here still fighting all kinds of pressure onto the back of Barker, and Taufik has just cleared off as Barker is having to go a little bit, not necessarily defend so much, although in this case he certainly will have to defend as they come down to 130R. Side by side, he squeezes them onto the grass. All of the time you must leave it a space. That was not enough space for a Mustang, and that's going to allow Graham Hill to potentially get the move done. Will King be able to defend it? They go side by side, and there's a car. Random McLaren appears in the middle of the battle, so that's not ideal. Who was that? That was car 30.
It was the car that you were admiring before. Oh no, sorry, that was the previous split. But anyway, unfortunately from Graham Hill, he was looking around the outside, and it was Ning Chan in the McLaren. Was facing backwards, which takes some doing. So I wonder if he had a bit of an assistance. I'm not too sure on that one, but we'll leave it there. But yes, unfortunate there for Graham Hill, and King. I think if you measured it, there was probably exactly a Mustang's width left, but needs to be a little bit more than the exact width of the car. It's very hard to judge, as you can see Mr. King thought he was getting pushed off. He pretty much was, to be honest, pushed onto the grass. No need for that.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if there were some numbers called there. There may have been, but I think what that will mean is that when King catches back up to Barker, the elbows may well and truly come out as you quickly learn how to race against the other drivers in your split, and some afford you the space, some don't afford you the space, and when they don't, you sort of make your own space. So this could be a nice spicy little battle as things continue. And Graham Hill, I think he has the pace to catch back up to these guys. Obviously got a little bit affected by a wild McLaren appearing in the middle of the chicane. But it looked as though Hill had already missed a chicane, basically, I think. And then he just had to take a bit of evasive action to avoid Ning Chan there. So let's see how this battle progresses. There's not really going to be much happening in the top 3, I don't think. But just to confirm, Jusman is not an AM driver, is he?
In the entry list that I have here from the Discord, it says he is.
Okay.
He's definitely raced before. He can, when he puts it together, his pace is definitely not AM pace, because he's qualified in the top 10, not just this race, but in previous races before having shared the same split. One comment on other aspects of his driving.
Okay. I I think he hasn't raced for a season or two, maybe,
Yeah.
or something. But
He's not
The
a
name-
regular racer.
the name is familiar at least, and I remember him always being fairly quick. So yeah, I suspect maybe that AM badge may not stay along for too long. But Pascal Armstrong, he has been a very, very strong AM driver since the beginning of the season, putting in another absolutely stellar performance here. He's been under pressure from Norton Hout for quite a few laps now, and that gap has sort of maintained between 210s and a couple of hundreds, and he is managing to place the car in all the right places.
Yeah, definitely looking like, to be honest, maybe worthy of a Pro-Am promotion for Mr. Pascal Armstrong. I think in terms of AM leaders across all the other splits, he is way ahead the most on 75 points, and only just basically the silver leader, which is the car behind him right now, is only on 97 points. So I would count this as a big, juicy Pro-Am battle, because bear in mind John Carter as well behind him is obviously well in this fight as well, towards in the championship. And looking good. 3 different drivers, 3 different ways of going quickly, and 3 different cars. Love to see it.
Absolutely. I think Pascal Armstrong, usually in qualifying, has been a bit further down, but it's his races that have been so clean and consistent. He has had a few mistakes here and there, but you'd expect that from an AM class driver. But overall, his pace and consistency is probably beyond that of a AM class driver. So yeah, as you say, it wouldn't surprise me if we've seen him Pro-Am, but I think his stout defense of P11 is about to come to an end.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
The Porsche just gets into the back of the Lamborghini. We can really tell from the angle that we were seeing, but unfortunately the Lamborghini has definitely come across worse. Ooh, there's gotta let those tires to maybe cool down a little bit, and might be just a little bit frustrated based on that. Can understand somewhat. There's D King has done a very good job, seeing that he was pretty much destroyed.
Oh my
the
lord.
hairpin. Not sure if that was Pascal just kind of get out of one for the other, trying to take it easy, and very made it look very dramatic from the angle we saw. That's a damn sure.
That was certainly something. Is now Pascal Armstrong with the slipstream up the inside into the first turn. And...
Oh my god.
Oh, wow, okay. Unconventional, but he gets it done, but very, very loose on the rear, quite wide, and all the time you have to leave a space.
We haven't had some Alexis noises in quite a while, so that was a good T1, I would say there. Thank you, Alexis.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, I insist.
That was some hard racing there between the 2 drivers. Ooh, what's going on here?
This is for position between King and Barker.
Deja
You
vu.
remember what happened last time? Barker leaves enough room, does he? Oh, just about.
gets out
It
of
got
it.
very, very tight. Now, King, is he going to have a dive again this time around the outside? Try and do what Taufik did, couldn't do it, but that will compromise the line for Barker. But he gets a beautiful exit. Although, the Mustang in the straight line, very, very good. So we'll see what happens with Jared King here. But this is a fierce rivalry forming for P4.
This is going to be an interesting battle with the cars having their different strengths in different parts of the track. It certainly seems like out of Spoon and down towards 130Rs where the Mustang is a little bit stronger than the Ferrari, but I think this first sector, from all accounts I've heard, the Mustang is a little bit of a handful coming through here. So, and the Ferrari is a little bit more planted, and especially without that added weight, it'll certainly just rotate that ever so slightly better and potentially get a better exit. But here is Graham Hill. He has rejoined this battle, and this menage a trois will continue as we have another 26 minutes remaining in the race.
Up to 35C on the track, so these are... Hope everyone got their pressures correct, to say the least, and going to be pretty toasty towards the end, and we know what this track is like on tyres. And there's a little bit of an equalizer with the Casio triangle and the back straight, because we wax lyrical about the Mustang straight line performance, but it really doesn't get off the corner as well as the Ferrari, given the traction and TC potential. Obviously, like you said, Ferrari's lacking their 26 kilos, was it? Which probably would be affecting things, and we can see like Taufik obviously absolutely flew away from Barker after he got past, and King knows he's definitely got the pace, I think, to be a little bit more there with Taufik ahead of Barker. And this is a problem when you stay behind another driver as well. You both kind of learn, and each other's like a ways of attacking and defenses. And the problem is, the more time you spend behind them, the more they have on you, and the harder it can be to overtake.
Definitely.
Good run here.
It's just a poor entry through from Barker, but poor exit, just running very, very wide from King. Although now, is he going to be in the slipstream enough? I don't think it's going to be quite enough. No, not quite for King, so you'll have to wait one more lap, but it's ebbing and flowing here, and all that's doing is bringing Hill into the equation. Nice Mustang sandwich with the Ferraris as the bread.
Love some Italian bread. It's interesting to see Taufik closing the gap on Cook. I mean, not doing enough to catch him, but he's taken about a second out of Cook. Oh, second and a half now. So maybe just those tire pressures, he got them maybe a little bit more in the window than Cook did. Cook also had that extra lap on the greasy track, which would have affected how the tires come in, and a little bit of graining. And so there's a lot of factors that will be affecting it. King with a good exit out of Degnet 2. It's not really a place you want to be making up. Oof, Jesus. Okay, he pulls it up beautifully. That was nerve-wracking.
That took some skill to pull that up. For all money, I thought he was going to be pile driving into the back of the number 13 Ferrari as the number 78 picks up a 5-second penalty.
Ivan again.
Yep, I believe.
Unfortunate day to Rue a little bit. Ferrari just get those good exits down these off spoon. The Mustang closes in, especially with a draft as well for the Mustang. Really helps. Comes through 130. A little bit wide there from Barker, but doesn't really lose out subsequently. Is Jared King definitely confident enough on the brakes, as we saw wide from Barker. But Jared would probably take a little bit more apex to kind of straighten out your exit, but he's done a good job so far, and he's definitely a little bit closer than he has been on the last few laps. But will it be enough for him to get ahead by turn 1, or even just get side by side, closing in, pulls out into the drive, goes to the outside line, side by side into turn 1, rounds it around the outside, Kimi Räikkönen style, but is it too wide? He's holding out, and there's contact, and Barker goes around, and so does Jared as well, and Graham Hill says thank you and takes P4.
That was unfortunately inevitable, I think. Looks like it was going to be quite a good move from Jared King around the outside. Barker was always going to come back at him with the superior speed. Jared had to rub a lot of speed going around the outside. And yeah, unfortunately, just tightens up a little bit too much in the turn 2 for two drivers to go side by side cleanly and both around.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm very happy I'm not a steward. Because that's not one that I want to be calling. But yeah, an unfortunate end to what was a good battle for quite a few laps. As we see, another car has just decided to investigate the wall more closely. That is a very broken looking McLaren there. Not sure exactly who that is. That's car 43. And I suspect they may be
beaten.
Trying to get that car back to pits to fix it.
That's usually the goal as we take a look at the replay. So this will be King going around the outside, just has to rub off a lot of speed, and then Barker sticks his nose in there, maybe a little bit wide at the apex, but yeah, it's hard to really tell with that sort of angle who's at fault, who's not. It's could very well just come down to be as a racing incident.
We'll leave that burning sack at the steward's front door and ring the bell and run away, frankly.
Absolutely.
Don't want nothing to do with that at all. And unfortunately, I did come to a sorry sight with both of them ultimately losing out. I did think Jared had it done with his Kimi Raikkonen style around the outside, but I think the Mustang just lacked that front downforce, and it did just kind of scrub out wide a little bit. And unfortunate. But yeah, sorry to see it in that way.
Yeah, well, the outcome may have been worse, but at least the commentators here are much better than the commentators for the Raikkonen move.
See, Norton Hurd gets a 15-second penalty for his incident with Pascal Armstrong. So, students taking a dim view of that move. But yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate outcome, but fortunately for King and Barker, they didn't really lose too much in the bigger scheme of things. King only lost one position technically. No, actually, he didn't even lose the position. He maintained position. Barker lost one. Hill did a through goes Hamilton moment there, and it goes up into P4, which he'll be happy with, especially considering he had to serve a penalty during his pit stop, which put him out of the battle for a couple of laps, but he did have the pace to catch back up. Damiano here in the Porsche in the split, and he is looking very, very strong up in P8, P3 into the silver class as well. So a good performance from Damiano so far.
Damiano has showed pretty good pace so far this season. He's been quite consistent as well, not shying away from a good performance here and there so far, and once again finding himself in a brilliant position, keeping things nice and clean, relaxed, as his team name suggests. With he's got Justin right behind him, who's quite fast in this race and has a very, very quick Ferrari underneath him. As there he goes, a little deep there. We'll see what happens down the straight. Don't think there'll be too much going on into turn one on this occasion.
That's a good performance from Damiano so far, but unfortunately for him, his main competitor in the silver class is Tim Purcell, who is currently ahead of him on track. So he will need to pick up the pace and hope for some bad luck to befall Purcell ahead of him if he wants to gain in the championship. But the good news is that Danny Vu, who is currently in P3 in the championship, is all the way down in P18, so he will be extending the gap to P3 as things stand at the moment.
Yeah. And speaking of Porsche, here is your Porsche fact for the race. The Porsche 992 current generation does hold the GT3 lap record here at Suzuka with a 201.491. Brought to you by Porsche Facts. Definitely haven't been slipped in Mickey Finn by Sean Miller on that one.
That doesn't sound like something Sean Miller would know, to be fair.
No. It is by Lowe's. Jusman nearly goes into the back of Fergalini. And yes, I know what it's like to be on the receiving end, unfortunately. Thankfully, no contact was made, but yes, yeah, less of that.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of poo came out. He went left, he went right, and at the end of the day, I think he was just ended up going straight. And fortunately, Fergalini had made the turn in, and the contact was avoided there. But yeah, that was a big old Ferrari appeared in Fergalini's mirror a lot quicker than he would have anticipated.
I will say Jusman, if it is, unless it's completely different Jusman, but the last Jusman did race that I've raced against was in the Ferrari with the same name and number, but was on much higher ping. So I don't know if he's potentially moved to a different country with less ping now, but yeah, definitely going a lot better. But definitely, I will say, it doesn't help your driving anymore. I will say we're driving on any sort of moderately high ping, but you know, you don't do too badly, so you do your Peach.
Yeah, I mean, my ping is about 140 on average, so it's not never really been an issue, I'd say, in OR specifically.
Yeah, as long as you're average sort of speed or a bit wide there from vertically and giving Judgment everything that they need to see. And coming through the S's there, tyres might be looking a little bit second hand. Granted, they haven't been on them as long as Split Yellow had to run theirs, but different conditions overall, to say the least. And see if Strickland can hold off.
Intrigued the track is still only fast given how many cars are circulating out there. I guess the track temperature is also very, very high, so I'm not sure whether that plays a part in procedures either, as Josman can't get it up the inside of the hairpin, so has to wait that little bit longer.
Yeah, I think anyone else also racing anyone in the fray would be ruining them not getting the BOP, because they do look like a pretty quick car. They don't really look any stronger in a straight line though, that said.
No, but it looks very planted on the exit on corner, so it just gets that good drive. I mean, the Porsche is, if you can get the rears planted on the exit, it's a very good car out of the corners, but the Ferrari is looking maybe slightly superior in a couple of corners, but Fercolini is really, it's a testament to the rookie series, or now the academy series in OR, who he was the type of driver who 10 seasons or 8 seasons ago was 4 or 5 seconds off the pace and learning, and he's just improved and improved and improved, and his consistency and his pace has just come on in leaps and bounds, and now he's regularly fighting in the top 10 and not taking any steps back to any of the drivers that he comes up against, even when there's first grid races. So really is good to see, and his consistency so far in this battle, he's just placed the car where it's needed to be, and Jusman has to find a way around, and so far that is not something he's able to do.
Exactly, yeah. Really well executed so far from Damiano. I feel like Jusman's got that little bit of extra pace over the Porsche, but just can't find that way through, and that's going to be the critical part of that story is, well, getting past another driver. It's one thing to catch, it's another thing to overtake.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely, Justin looks a lot more consistent and just stronger through the S's. I think there are sort of mistakes from both sides somewhat, a little bit. But Damiano just, yeah, as I said, placing the car where he needs to be, and just gets that great run as well on the Porsche on exits. And that can just be enough sometimes, you know, to not use another F1 analogy, 2010 Abu Dhabi with Vitaly Petrov is very good on the exits and down the straights, and sometimes that's all it takes to defend the position.
Also helps when it was Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, but yeah, known for its straights, but doing a good job, getting a little bit adjustment a little bit close into this corner. Has a little duck out to remind him he's there, but I think he knows he's there regardless. But Damiano doing everything he needs to, and as long as he doesn't, you know, make too many mistakes, overshooting anything, that's all he'll need to do. But 12 minutes, it's a lot of pressure, and Justin a lot closer, but a little bit of a slide on exit, but still well within the slipstream of the Porsche. There's an excellent camera work from Glenn, and coming through the exit, not really gaining much on the Porsche.
Damiano offline.
And it's around the outside. Will it still be side by side coming for turn 3? He does his best, but it's a bit too much radius in the corner, and Jusman is ahead. Over the inside line, proving the ultimate line for that turn 2. It's unfortunate for Damiano there. A little slow mistake.
Yeah, that inside line did not work for going into turn 1. Just went deep on the brakes, not accounting for the tighter line he'd have to take through that corner, and unfortunately he's lost position as a result, but still, he's in P9 and he can be relatively happy with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see with the different conditions that we had in split yellow and now in split green, just how more, I don't know, not necessarily exciting, but more close and challenging the racing was in those mixed conditions versus split green, where things have really spread out. There's very few real battle packs throughout the field. Just goes to show what the sort of variable conditions can do to the racing. But yeah, so far so good, I would say.
Yeah, I think it is also telling when you've got the top 8 as just 2 manufacturers as well. That certainly does play in the part, but yeah, as you said, yeah, the changing conditions has led to quite the split in the field. I'd say if it was just dry or just wet, we'd see a much different race to what we've seen here.
We are missing some notable fast people as well. Unfortunately, we lost Yoda to a DC. Hignett, obviously, was strategy, the Aston Martin. Who's another one? Rashudi's not here. Naeem, we saw how quick Naeem took pole at Barcelona as well in the McLaren. It is a little bit, but yes, Fords and Mustangs, Split Yellow also proved it very quick around here. So we should just disqualify all of them, and Fercolini takes the win.
Woo! Subscribe. I'm in. I'll take that.
Down for that.
And it's a Porsche winning too, so Sean would be happy.
Yes, Sean would be very, very excited. But yeah, while there's not too much racing going on, this is an on-track battle, but Hode has that 15-second penalty, so not necessarily for position as it stands. Some fun facts about Suzuka, which I'm sure most people are aware of, but the track was commissioned by Honda as a dedicated testing facility in 1962 and then hosted its first Formula 1 race in 1987. And the Degner curves are named after a motorcycle rider called Ernst Degner, who crashed very heavily there in 1962. Those are some facts to brighten your day.
Yeah. 5.8 kilometers long and 18 turns, still one of the best tracks in the world. I will admit I've warmed up to Mount Fuji as well, the other, let's say, probably the second. I don't know, I think Mount Fuji and Suzuka almost equal status, I'd wager, for best or most well-known Japanese track, but I think maybe with F1 having been at Suzuka a lot more is probably going to sway that vote a little bit, but WEC likes its Mount Fuji, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Suzuka maybe has a little bit more prestige just because of the F1, but Fuji Racing
Senna Days, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very interesting track.
Yeah. Commissioned by Honda, Soichiro Honda, back in the day. Oh, Norton! Oh, just grounds out a little bit on the exit curve of 130R and has an absolute sideways moment and does a great job to correct it at that speed in a Porsche with the pendulum rear end of the rear engine flat 6. Oh, that was scary. That was so scary for Naughty.
Yeah, I think
Can we please have a replay? An interior replay from driver's eye. That was great driving.
You've upset Gorilla.
Oh no, I've started in chat. What's the other Japanese track? They just say it's the best. The Aida, the one that Bernie Eccleston is like, oh yeah, we can host a track there in your track, Mr. Aida, and then bankrupted him subsequently.
Gelsman's got a drive-through penalty.
Oh dear. Percolini back up to P8.
On pace alone.
On pace alone.
Well, I mean, you have to stay within the limits. Percolini does the right thing. Gisman extended the limits, and he'll have to pay the price for that, unfortunately. But yeah, Percolini will be very happy with that. Yep, I think so. I think Percolini or Gisman should come out ahead of Pong, I would guess, somewhere around there.
Okay, really started in chat. Okayama, we got
yeah, there's the moment for Hode.
Mount.
But we're talking about real tracks.
Fujimi Kaido way better than Trial Mountain anyway.
Yeah, Fujimi Kaido is the superior.
We've got to really start the war in chat now. What's the other giant? Twin Ring Motegi. I like Twin Ring Motegi a lot, I will say.
There's
I don't really know Simrigs.
Sportland Sugo as well. That's a track that I know.
And Tsukuba, the little time trial zippy circuit that everyone loves as well.
Tsukuba, my
Great in
beloved.
MX5s. Yeah. Great in MX5s. But,
Where's Japan DLC? We have Japan Cup in GT World Challenge Asia. Come on, give us a GT World Challenge Asia DLC. Won't happen.
I mean, I wouldn't mind having Fuji in. It's quite a fun track to do, but it has the final sector is a bit.
Can you imagine the chicane? But lap ones at that little chicane there. Oh my goodness, that one's at a chicane. It's really tight. Yeah.
36 has come a drop. I'm not sure exactly who
36,
that is.
that's
Car
my
30?
number.
Car 30, sorry. Not sure. Number is very small. My eyes are not that quick, so. And another car there. Who's that? 43 again. I think that's Beaton again. He's taken a beating today, and he's kept on trucking.
Anyways, I'm just having a look at the. I am just having a look at the GT World Challenge Asia calendar, and so you have Sepang, Buriram, Sugo, Fuji, and Suzuka. Yeah.
Oh, that's Sepang.
And then okay, I'm in Shanghai too. Yes.
Jared with a big wobble on the exit there.
Honestly, Sepang and Shanghai would be great additions.
Certainly is. Blue flag there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jared looked like he still had some pace after the Portra collision with Barker. But Hill just managing that gap and all he needs to for P4. And definitely, I feel like any of these drivers could have been worthy of a podium, but it is so competitive.
Yeah, it's been good to see Taufik have the pace and to sort of close that gap on Cook just continuously losing time to Fadley a couple of tenths a lap. I've been there. I've chased Fadley, and that it doesn't matter how well you drive, that gap just keeps growing. He's just so consistent, so fast. So I understand Cook's feelings, but he's put in a very good performance. Managed to get the undercut sort of done, I guess, or the overcut at least. If you discount the mistake, then we'll call it an overcut. But yeah, I think it's been fairly even pace-wise between Cook and Taufik, and even maybe Hill and King behind. The gap's not that much bigger, but the conditions changing over and a bunch of incidents and fighting has mixed things up a little bit.
Definitely very interesting with the variable amount of weather, but also just this searing heat as well when it is dry. It's going to be tough conditions regardless. It's going to be very interesting to see how Split Blue and Split Red deal with these tomorrow. Is yes, I think a bit more head scratching tonight on what maybe just me, but I don't know for you, Pete, will have a. Is this having what you've seen tonight? Is it gonna maybe change what you think you were gonna do for tomorrow?
Based on today, I'm not thinking about tomorrow, I would say, because there's no clear indication of what we can expect conditions-wise. So I think it's just going to be a case of sort of show up and drive and hope you get the tire pressures right. And roughly what it's going to come down to.
I'm just worried that we're gonna just split yellow towards the end when they had very little tire left. And it's the track at its wettest. It looks so difficult for everyone out there. It doesn't matter how much DC you use.
Somebody says fun. There's different perspectives.
Oh, it can be both. I'm just dreading it a little bit.
It is both.
Yeah.
I'm relishing to go though. Not gonna lie.
I would say if I had to choose between the two conditions that we saw today, I would choose split yellow conditions all day, every day. I'd rather have a full wet race than this very, very hot conditions on the tires. But yeah, I think either would be fun. And this man has certainly had some fun today. Made it a bit of a challenge for himself by turning off his car, and he's managed to get back into the lead and just build an absolute monster of a gap. And he's missed 2 races this season, but if he shows up for every race the rest of the season, he could potentially still put himself in a position. Is he just drifting for the fun of it?
Yeah, he's just having a bit of fun. Has he turned off the TC or something? Because yeah, it just looks like he's drifting around at this point as Fudley Ruckmart. Yeah, as you say, excellent stuff. No, he's still got the TC on 5. Yeah, he's just drifting around. He's just going for a bit of fun on this final lap. He's got a 14-second lead. You just got to hope that he doesn't crash himself out of this race, but we know he's
why
coming.
we hate you pros. You have to like flex on us. Yeah, but the pros.
He's a pro. I'm not a pro.
Just having to show off, like, anyone the car control, like, eh.
I mean, if you can, why not? I'm terrible at drifting, so I would just put it in a wall.
I feel like these cars are so difficult to drift anyway with the TC and the ABS regardless. Like, it usually just like, I don't know, I can't do it at all. I don't think I can drift anything, to be fair. But
I wouldn't be
yes,
surprised if he's doing this lap in chase cam. It would be even more Chad of the thing.
oh, jeez. Yeah, as Brad Cook will definitely be retaining his lead over the championship. Believe that our Peter Benjamin Hignett he's in about P21, P22, P23. He will still get points, and that's important when you got to put on a championship. But Rackmat in the 62 Ferrari does win out round 3 of split green here at Suzuka, followed by the Mustang of 695 Cook.
See there, the difference between the 2 fastest laps is almost a second between Fudley and Brad Cook, so just dominant. And you see Tafik there about 4/10 quicker than Brad Cook on his fastest lap, so you know that's just that little bit later stop, so the tires weren't on the mixed conditions for quite as long. But Graham he'll be very, very happy with a P4 after a penalty, and I think he was running P8 or so towards the start of the race. So a very good recovery from him. And then Jared King in P5 after his incident with David Barker. He'll take a top 5 for today, I would hazard a guess. David Barker?
I'm guessing they ruled it as a racing incident between those two, which is fair.
Yeah,
Barker.
I guess so. I mean, they both lost out almost equally, so...
Yeah, and yeah, racing incident seems most fair to me. As Barker across the line, P6, Purcell in 7th, and Damiano in P8. He'll be happy with that as you see him really going for it
The
across
real
the line.
race winner.
Yeah, John Carter will come across in P9 and take out the Pro-Am class ahead of Hode with the 15 seconds. So Paulie will be second in the Pro-Am class, and Jasmine will still take out the AM class win for today.
Yeah, unfortunately, that penalty for Hode's going to drop him a fair few places, I think. Maybe down to P12, maybe even P13, I'm not too certain on that one.
Yeah, it'll be P13. I don't think King will be close enough, and no, not quite.
Why is the front of King's car so dirty? Is that his paint job, or...?
Yeah, I did notice that early in the race. Maybe he's been sniffing some coal around. Not sure.
Scummer?
Yeah, that was a good race there from Split Green. Not quite as thrilling and exciting as we saw in Split Yellow, but to get confirmation of your finishing positions, Fadli Rahmat takes the win and the fastest lap. Brad Cook and Moyen Tafik round out the podium in the overall class. In the silver class, we have Jared King, Tim Purcell, Damiano Thurcolini on the podium. And then in the Pro-Am class, we have John Carter, Brendan Pauly, and Brian Kong. And finally, in the AM class, Ahmed Jusman, Alex Pasca Armstrong, and Sam Austin takes out the podium. It was a very, very fun 2 races to watch. and we didn't do it for split yellow, but we might as well do it for split green. Your driver of the day.
Fercolini.
I'd say Turcolini's probably a very fair shout. I mean, I feel like King drove a very, very, very good race today and was quite unlucky with the incident with Barker. It was deemed a racing incident with King in the end, which I think was fair, but I still think his pace was very, very good, especially compared to the other silver class drivers.
Yeah, it's a good call. I'm gonna give it to Hill. Kept it clean and kept his nose clean apart from a small incident early in the race, but did very well to recover and then had the pace to catch up and take advantage of whatever happened ahead of him and get a solid P4. But yeah, just that's the racing done for today here in the Simrigs Sprint Series on Octane Online Racing. Tomorrow we have some more racing in Split Blue and Split Red. We're starting at the same time, and look forward to some more exciting racing tonight or tomorrow.
Yep. Bye bye.